Welcome, one and all, to the BSR MX5 trophy hosted here on Jacko Racing for the first time in, well, not quite a long time. We've had the odd round, but we've got the full series here now on Jacko Racing, so I'm very excited to be welcoming you to it. We're at Laguna Seca for round number 1, and alongside me is an old compatriot in the commentary box of mine. It's Ed May. Ed, how the devil are you?
I'm doing brilliant. Thank you very much. And yes, welcome everyone to a new season, the first round of basically the autumn-winter series of the BSR MX5 trophy is kicking off in style here at the Laguna Seca, where drivers have got to negotiate several tricky fast-flowing corners. Then, of course, the tight technical corkscrew could be catching quite a few drivers out tonight, Jack.
It could be, and in fact, I fully well expect it to, but there's plenty of overtaking opportunities in an MX5 round here. We were supposed to start the season at Watkins Glen. Unfortunately, because we hadn't quite sorted the streaming out and everything like that, the BSR actually missed a week last week, so I think they just cut off Watkins Glen completely, which means we're here. And that means a lot of drivers actually took a lot of time practicing at Watkins Glen. They didn't quite prepare as well for Laguna Seca. In fact, we only went to Laguna Seca. I think it was about 5 o'clock this afternoon, and it was decided maybe 3 o'clock this afternoon. So this could be a little bit of a surprise for a number of these drivers. Now, we've just gone from practice. We're going into qualifying, and there's always that sense of expectation in the first round at any series, isn't there, Ed? That sort of expectation that even though it might be an outside chance, and if the drivers were honest with each other, it might not go their way through the season. There's a sense of optimism, isn't there? Maybe this could be their year.
Yeah, maybe. Of course, last season we did crown Andy McEwen as the champion, but only by the thinnest of margins, Jack. 5 points going in the favour of the year 1 racing driver between himself and Jason Cooper, who, as we know, is very, very quick in MX5 and is going to be looking to try and take the crown away from this man we're watching now, Andy McEwen.
Indeed, yes. Andy was, by the skin of his teeth. It was actually a thrilling finale to commentate on. I think I broke one of the golden rules of motorsport commentary, is that you should never really shout at the top of your lungs. But I was shouting. I was off my seat. I was pretty much throwing my seat through the window. That it was so exciting. And I believe we had about 200 views, and I believe about 180 of them are just Andy McEwen rolling it back on repeat. So yeah, it was a very exciting last couple of races. I'm very much hoping that this season lids up to the billing. There is only, I think there's about 20 drivers here today, which is a bit low, I'd say, on MX5 numbers. But as I said, it was quite a late sort of development to get this first round underway. I can imagine through the season we'll be gaining quite a few more.
Yeah, I would also imagine so. And seeing if they can maybe try to take away from Andy McEwen in his hopefully good start to the season. We're seeing the drivers starting their first flying laps now. Jason Cooper, I believe, is currently on a flyer. We've seen him through Sector 1. Has it come through up on the timing sheets? No, not quite. So this is actually, I think, an outlap from the second place driver in last season's championship. Actually, no, he must be on a flyer because he's just gone purple through Sector 2. Nothing through Sector 1 for any drivers yet. So we're going to see what they're up to. But already Jason Cooper on an outlap, pushing hard.
Yeah, no, he's determined, isn't he? And this is only a 15-minute qualifying session. If you are new to the BSR MX5 Championship, or any BSR Championship actually, should explain that we are expecting 4 races today, aren't we, Ed? We've got this qualifying session, which is 15 minutes, so we've got 4 15-minute races for you coming up to your screens as well. There'll be a mixture of reverse grid races. There'll be excitement from that, but the qualifying only counts for race 1. Is that right? That is right. Yeah, cool.
Yes, it does. It only counts for the first race, but of course that can have knock-on effects throughout the evening, depending on how big or small these reverse grids are. If you qualify, you may get a position, finish out position after the first race. There are still plenty of opportunities for you to come back and score big points. Some of the first laps coming through very shortly, you would imagine. I think Travis Linscomb Hatfield will probably be the first driver to set a lap time. I believe he was first out of the blocks. Currently we're following Forenz Arabian.
Not many
And then
drivers
now we
out
go-
there
yeah.
picking up a lap time just yet. I'll see if I can refresh something, but I think we're...
I think as well, something around this track, it's very easy to push a little bit too hard, run a bit too wide, and then get your lap time invalidated. You can be invited to cut the inside, perhaps, through the corkscrews. Here we go, the first few laps coming through. James Clark topping the timing sheets with a, well, it's quickly dethroned, actually, as Nathan Davies goes fastest with the 37. Never mind, Andy McEwen fastest with a 37.335. Last season's champion, finding himself on the top spot so far. Provisional pole position with about 9 minutes to go in qualifying. Looking good, but of course, drivers will be trying to take that away from Jason and Luke Cooper, I believe, working together. Do tend to find the two Coopers helping one another out. Foreign's Arabian is going to be setting his first lap of this qualifying session. Coming up to the line now, breaking the timing. What will this see the AM driver do? He will go top of the AM standings and 4th overall. A very competitive time.
It is indeed, yeah. We wanted to highlight Arabian there just because I believe he's new to the championship. I haven't seen him. He might be returning since my absence, but I think he's one of the new drivers. Lars Fischer, again, he's just set his first flying lap. He's got into 5th place. The driver finished 3rd in the championship, I believe, last season, just basing that on the fact that he has number 3 on the side of his car, but he didn't attend the first 2 or 3 races of last season at all. So the fact that he did actually manage to get all that way up was a fairly impressive feat, I would say, by the 5-star car. He is Jason Cooper's teammate. He was, I think Jason Cooper felt like he needed a little bit of backup with all the year 1 cars that were out there. All of a sudden, Lars Fischer comes in and they do make a good partnership. Lars isn't quite as quick as Jason Cooper, but he certainly is a very good teammate. He's very unselfish and certainly knows how to put himself about and try and get in the way as much as he can. This is Lynn. Now he's going very quickly indeed. Currently on pole position, 136.82. 0.3 of a second.
Never mind. Andy McEwen's just gone quicker.
I was going to say 0.3 of a second slower though than Andy McEwen and now James Sharp. I think we were just a bit impatient before, Ed. I think we were just waiting for these drivers to set some flying laps. I think it's just a really long lap.
It is relatively long, 1.5 minutes, as Wen Ling coming up towards the final corner now. Was previously on pole position. I think these tyres do take a little while to warm up, and actually backed right out of this lap and looking to maximise the speed through the final corner now to start his next attempt for pole position. Jason Cooper is going to be on a much quicker lap. His last effort was pretty much second slowest from all these drivers, and now goes fastest out of all the drivers by quite some margin as well. 4.5 of a second quicker than James Sharp, who's actually doing a very good effort right at the sharp end of the field so far in the Pro-Am class, as well as just across all classes. Second at the moment, could be a front row start for the Pro-Am driver.
Could indeed, yeah. Just bringing up the gap between the drivers now, and you can see, you're absolutely right. Jason Cooper by 4.5 clear of James Sharp. Very, very impressive indeed. And normally I like to highlight how close the grid is, but realistically I was expecting more than the top 6, now top 7, as Clark goes into 7th place, to be separated by less than a second. The likes of Adam McNally and James Neve, we can probably expect to see them a little bit quicker. Lars Fischer especially going to go quicker at some point during this session. Adam Delmont's moving his way up the order as well, ahead of Luke Cooper. So this is certainly going to close up, but with only a 15-minute session, we're now halfway through. If drivers are going to come in and pit, it's going to be a little bit close when it comes to the 15-minute mark.
Lars Fischer looks to be on a very good lap. Purple in the first sector, about on par with Jason Cooper through the second. Personal best going to be coming up through the third. 4th sector isn't looking too bad. In fact, it's looking brilliant for Lars Fischer. Purple, 4th sector into the final. The 5th sector, what you do needs to be very brave, very committed onto the brakes, carry the momentum through onto the corner. A little bit unsettled there by the anti-cut, the sausage curb, but using more of the AstroTurf on the exit of the final corner. This could be a brilliant lap from Lars Fischer. Is it going to be enough to promote him up onto the front row of the grid, maybe even pole position? Yes, it is. Excellent lap there by Lars Fischer, just to dethrone Jason Cooper from provisional pole position for now.
Yeah, that was the 5-star team working together, wasn't it? I think they've somewhat coordinated themselves now in this season, and probably hoping, or probably realising that yeah, they need a third gunner if they're going to have any chance at trying to take a overall victory in the championship this season. At the moment, Lars Fischer and Jason Cooper are two drivers who rock out the front row, and it's going well for them. James Clark comes across the line. He was in 8th place, and I believe he remains in 8th place. Even though it was an improvement, it wasn't quick enough to dethrone Lynn from that 7th place. Lynn, the new 5-star teammate of obviously Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer that we were talking about before. Keeping a bit of a close eye, Adam Fox in the AM category, not yet set a lap time. There are 5 drivers in the AM category. Chris Dixon looks like he's bottom of the order in 18th place, but actually Adam Fox yet to set a legal lap time. He's had 7 off tracks so far. You're absolutely right, weren't you, Ed? It is difficult to set a time here that is legal. A few of the drivers have managed it. Adam Delmont has got 0 off tracks, but apart from that, everybody else has got at least 1.
Yeah, you do get invited just to push a little bit too hard. Of course, the runoff areas are decently forgiving here. Plenty of space before you come up to the barriers at most areas of the circuit. And of course, because there aren't too many sort of nasty anti-cuts on the outside of the corners, doesn't want you just to push that a little bit harder. You can see Adam Fox using all of the runoff area through all of these corners. Coming up now, this corner's really difficult. It's a blind apex. You turn in, you have to sort of almost meet the apex, but sort of as it comes to you, it's very quick. It's suddenly upon you in an instant, and then again as well through the corkscrew. You can't really see it until you're suddenly onto it. Running slightly wider of the mark there, but running even wider was actually driver in the background. I'm not sure who that was. Might be one of the Excite Racing drivers. As whoa, Adam Fox. Oh, a bit too tail happy there. Managed to somehow keep it on the sticky black stuff, and then decides to get out of the way of drivers on fast laps. Speaking of on fast laps, Jason Cooper fastest through the 2nd and 3rd sector in behind his teammate Wanji Lin, helping him a lot now as they come up towards the corkscrew.
Yeah, I just wanted to highlight Jason Cooper because he has gone purple sector 2. He didn't get the purple sector 3. It was not quite as quick, maybe having to do with something of the getting through the traffic or something like that. But well, Lars Fischer took advantage. He isn't actually able to keep up this lap. He's got a little bit of a waft behind, so he might get a good straight line speed, but he's not going quicker at all. And neither is Lin, as all 3 of them come into the pits. So Jason Cooper, even though he looked up in a couple of sectors, clearly doesn't think he's strong enough to finish off the route. As yeah, this is earlier on. This is at the beginning of the next lap, isn't it, for Adam Fox after having that off track? He didn't set another lap time, unfortunately. Again, 11.5 minutes through the session. Nobody really putting any improved lap times in. We'll have a look at Travis Linscombe Hatfield, though. A driver that we haven't seen before, I don't believe, Ed, in the MX5 BSR trophy. I could be wrong, but thought we'd give
I think we've had a Michael Linscombe Hatfield. I don't know if it's the same as Travis. I know we've had drivers operating under different iRacing accounts, but under one name and then another. So I think this might be Travis or Michael Linscombe Hatfield. Not sure.
Maybe we'll be lucky enough to have an interview with them if they get on the podium at some point during
One
the
of the
evening. We'll be
two.
able to ask.
Interestingly enough, though, Andy McEwen has come in for fresh tyres and is out now to start his first flying lap on this fresh pair of boots. What can he do to maybe find himself up onto the front row? Needs to find a decent amount of time, though, doesn't he? Around about 0.6 of a second, the gap between Jason Cooper and Andy McEwen. Sparring partners, of course, last season. Jason Cooper getting the most amount of race victories out of any driver last season, with 11 to his name, basically averaging out 1 race victory pretty much every single evening's worth of racing that he took part in.
He was pretty phenomenal, to be fair, Jason Cooper, and I do remember talking to Andy quite a lot whenever he came in for a quick interview, and he was always a little bit worried. I think the thing that went into Andy's favour a little bit was the fact that Jason wasn't always at every single event, as Andy slows down, lets a couple of battling drivers up ahead of him, maybe to try and get their slipstream and get the best exit out of the final corner. That was just a warm-up lap for him, so now will be one of the final flying laps that he'll be able to produce. It was a very slow time, 1:51 there, but of course it was just an out lap, so he's starting his flying lap. Maybe we'll go on board with it, Ed, have a quick look at how he's attacking this Laguna Seca circuit.
Yeah, this corner's so tricky. Andy favouring this slightly tighter line. A lot of drivers tend to miss the first apex and hit the second, but Andy likes to bring it in nice and close, travel the least amount of sort of distance through the corner. And then again, just chucking it through. Doesn't look to be quite as quick through the first sector as Jason Cooper has, but he judges that perfect, doesn't he? Right onto the inside, just kissing that red anti-cut. If you pretty much just get maybe a couple of centimeters onto it, you are totally fine. Turning in nice and early for this corner, and letting the camber drag him around. Nicely done there, but again, maybe not carrying the amount of speed through the corner to help him up the exit and up the hill in towards this left-hander. You can see it's blind, and then as soon as you turn in, that's when you can see the apex. Car spinning off in front shouldn't hamper him too much. He's going to go across from stage right to stage left. Now up towards the corkscrew. You can see what I mean. It's completely blind until you basically arrive on the scene, but look at that, hooking up very nicely through both apexes, the left and the right-hand side. And now opting to turn in nice and early, hitting the curb and carrying the speed through. You can hear that he's pretty much always on the throttle through that corner, trying to balance it through. Turning in slightly too early, has to do an overcorrection on the steering wheel again on the exit. Going to be bleeding a little bit of time there is Andy, and oh my word, getting all sorts of out of shape there, dabbing a wheel onto the gravel, entry into the braking zone for the final corner. Way off the pace, and that's not going to be a lap time that Anthony's going to be glad that we were on board for, because it's not going to be enough to bring him any higher up the order. Look, half a second slower than his previous best.
Yeah, but he did get across the line with about 3 seconds to spare in terms of the checkered flag, so he might get one more flying lap in. Jason Cooper's gone purple in Sector 4. It's not been a particularly good lap apart from that, but let's have a look and see what he can come up with. He's in second place at the moment. I don't think it's going to be enough to dethrone his 5-star teammate, and indeed it is not. So Jason Cooper, the best that he can do is second place with a 136.216. His Lars Fischer comes across the line to go, well, about a second off of what his flying lap was. Wayne Douglas is going a little bit quicker, though, than his previous attempts, so he's the only driver that's got a smattering of green sectors around him. Colin Sampson, I suppose, does as well, but his Sector 4 will get overridden in a second. Wayne Douglas actually set his best lap time on his previous lap, but he's still squandering down in 14th place.
Just watching drivers make that.
Adam Fox hasn't set a lap either, has he? He's so far he's got 12 off tracks. It's not ideal start to the season.
No, he has to hope that the form in qualifying doesn't carry over into the race. He needs a bit of a mental reset, because I think it looked like he was just pushing a little bit too hard more than anything else. If he backs up just slightly, a lot of his mistakes seem to be coming on corner exit rather than corner entry. So if he's a little bit more patient with getting on the throttle, it might sacrifice a bit of lap time, but you lose so much more from those mistakes, from running that little bit too wide. As we see drivers going around on the circuit now, Jason Cooper did set a purple Sector 4. Maybe we'll see what it can do through this final sector now. Is it going to be enough for pole position? Hadn't had any slipstream all lap long, and I don't know if this will be enough to get that extra half a tenth or so that he needs to beat Lars Fischer. Coming up to the line now. What's it going to be for Jason Cooper? Not enough, unfortunately. No time coming up either, so there must have been an invalidation somewhere, most likely through the corkscrew, you would imagine. But there we go. We can see now the grid is lining up to be 5-star front row lockout.
Yeah, they've done very well, haven't they? As I believe we just have a comment on the YouTube saying that we're very quiet. I don't know if that means me specifically or whether that means me and Ed. Maybe it's me, actually, because I'm just looking at my audio volumes. And normally I'm one of the loudest things on a stream. So apologies if I adjust this and then have to go back and adjust it again. But fingers crossed that I won't have to do that. We do have a grid coming up, Ed, don't we? Because Lars Fischer, you just confirmed it, is on pole position with Jason Cooper alongside him. James Sharp is in third with Andy McEwen, the number 1 and reigning champion, in 4th place. And Adam Delmont in 5th with Luke Cooper in 6th. Lynn in 7th with James Clark in 8th place. James Neve in 9th. Adam McNally in 10th. Wayne Douglas and Nathan Davis are 11th and 12th. 13th down sees Travis Linscomb Hatfield alongside Dan Skinner, Forens Arabian and Colin Sampson in 15th and 16th. Fiona Siddons in 17th. Chris Dixon in 18th. Adam Fox didn't set a qualifying time. He finds himself down in 19th place. So, Ed, what are we expecting here? It's the start of a new season. Does that mean drivers are going to take it nice and easy, or are you expecting a little bit of fireworks here?
You'd imagine you want to get a good benchmark to build off of from the first race of the season. You don't want to start off with damage, with a trip to the pits, scoring minimal to no points. You want to go out there and bag a good, respectable result. A lot of these drivers aiming for maybe a podium, maybe a top 10. That's probably what they're going to aim for. But if they don't quite get it, that's no biggie. Can all come through. If you start off well, tend to finish well, don't you? So we'll see if Andy McEwen is going to follow that. Same with Jason Cooper. And wonder, actually, another thing to think about, Jack, is what the 5-star drivers are going to do, if they're going to try and work together, perhaps, or just, team orders out the window and properly scrap for it.
Well, we're hoping that they would team orders out the window, wouldn't you? Because we like to see them get their hands dirty and actually fight for these race results. But I suppose we'll have to wait and see, won't we? We won't have to wait and see for too long because the lights are on, the engine notes are rising, and that can only mean one thing in the BSR MX5 trophy, is that we're racing at Laguna Seca for the first time this season. Lars Fischer gets a decent start. Jason Cooper does as well. James Sharp not as hot on it as the front two rows. It looks like Jason Cooper actually might have a good run. But Andy McEwen looks up the inside into the first corner. It's nothing doing for him just yet. Adam Delmont trying to go around the outside in the noticeable Excite car. He's getting a little bit excited. Almost got on the power a little bit too early as well. And there's a car in the background who's facing the wrong way. It's Nathan Davis, unfortunately. As we see Andy McEwen being overtaken by Adam Delmont, who did end up getting a really nice run as Andy was a little bit boxed in after trying to overtake James Sharp through the first couple of corners. So the number 1 car is down to 5th.
Yeah, not the best start for Andy McEwen, but an even worse start for Yanji Lin, who was actually starting really, really poorly. Just didn't get the getaway off the line and was down 4 positions before they even got to the braking zone for the first corner. So not a good start for Yanji there. Unfortunately for him, needs to pick up the pace and try and make up ground that he lost in the opening few seconds of this race. Meanwhile, though, it's still Lars Fischer leading from Jason Cooper. As I say that, well, Jason Cooper, I think, was more or less let through into the corkscrew there by Lars, who didn't fight that at all.
Yeah, I'm going to have to actually just play that again because that was a little bit strange. I don't know if Lars got a poor run and thought, you know what, this isn't worth it. I don't know, that looks a bit suspect to me there. I mean, team orders are not banned from BSR MX5 trophy, but that did look a bit like Jason Cooper being let through. You're absolutely right.
I think it might have been more giving Lars the benefit of the doubt, just running a little bit wide through turn 6. Cold tyres is easily done, as that's Travis Littlencombe Hatfield stationary as, oh my word. I think that was Fiona Sinsam coming together with Colin Sansom on the exit of the final corner. Not entirely sure how all of that transpired. We're going to have a look here. So, keep your eyes out for Colin Sansom, the red-fronted car that just seems to have a bit of a coming together. And I mean, I don't think there was anything that Fiona was doing wrong there. She was on the exit trying to stay out of trouble, and then a car suddenly appeared in her left-hand side and coming across her nose to the right-hand side.
It was a bit questionable, that, wasn't it? I'm just going to have a look at how Lincombe Hatfield has actually fallen victim, or has he just been stricken, shall we say? Oh, he tried to dive at the inside. I'm not entirely sure. There was a gap there with the number 17. That was Dan Skinner he was fighting with. So, yeah, Fiona Siddons, Travis Lincombe Hatfield, and a few other drivers, unfortunately not going their way early on. But Adam Delmont is certainly having a little bit of a fight with Andy McEwen going side by side into the corkscrew. It's a good overtaking opportunity if you can get the car stopped. That's exactly what Andy was able to do. And James Sharp is probably feeling a little bit of pressure from both of these drivers, as Andy really does drop Adam Delmont very quickly.
That was a ballsy move from Andy, wasn't it? Right up the inside through into the corkscrew. Adam Delmont was forced all sorts of out of shape and actually, I think, picked up a slowdown in the process, having to let drivers through. Luke Cooper and James Neave being promoted a position. As Adam Belmont, I think we did see all 4 wheels off the circuit onto the gravel, and even though he actually lost time, iRacing still handling the slowdown penalty for leaving the circuit, as now we have Lars Fischer, fastest lap of the race, closing in on his teammate.
He is closing in indeed. We'll shoot back to that lead, although it's a 4/10 gap, isn't it? Jason Cooper thinks that he's probably got this in the bag, and he's got his rear gunner, his usual rear gunner, of Lars Fischer, just doing the business behind him. We've had a little bit of an off, though, for Wayne Douglas. I don't know why that keeps stopping before. It's going into the final corner again, isn't it, Ed? This is proving a little bit tricky for some drivers. What does Wayne Douglas do here? Does he just get on the power a little bit early? Ooh, Fiona Siddons just gets a little bit loose on the exit there. It was a bit of a strange one.
Fiona gets loose and then tries to apply the brakes to sort of stop the slide, but then I think it's more a case of Wayne Douglas not expecting the car to sort of travel that way. I think he's expecting the car to more spin and go further to the left-hand side, so he keeps going for where the car is, not where the car he thinks is going to be, which is the right thing to do in that situation. But just that little bit of saving by Fiona to put it on the brakes was what stopped it, unfortunately, as we have a bit of a good scrap here, don't we? Adam McNally right in the middle of a really tasty fight just behind Dan Skinner, but with Wang Ji Lin breathing down his neck. Maybe the Excite drivers need to work a little bit together here.
Yes, I think that is Dan Skinner about. We haven't merely mentioned him so much so far today, or this season, obviously, which is basically today. But the Excite driver, the Excite team employing a new driver here and hoping to help the likes of Adam McNally against the likes of Lynn, who is obviously the new 5-star teammate. So plenty of new drivers getting really thoroughly involved here. You're absolutely right. I believe you would expect Dan Skinner and Adam McNally to work together, but that doesn't always pay off. And we've actually seen plenty of Excite drivers have a little bit of a coming together as McNally goes a little bit wide and Lynn saw an opportunity. It got closed rather quickly on him. It is a little bit confusing, though. Dan Skinner's car looks very similar to the 5-star car as well, doesn't it? From that angle there, it's a little bit confusing.
Yeah, it's quite similar, but thankfully Adam McNally's is so different that we can just about tell them apart. Oh my word, though, that was a big mistake. Coming through turn 4 into turn 5, they go side by side. The inside line is there for Adam McNally, but it's just about enough to keep him alongside, as he needs to back out and does exactly that in towards turn 6. There's no way you can go side by side without a horrible accident, so has to concede the corner there. And that is Wang Ji Lin trying to sort of lessen the damage that was done at the start of the race, up now to 10th place. Jason Cooper, though, what a lap he's just done. Half a second quicker than anybody else, pulling out that gap to Lars Fischer, even though he was giving Lars a slipstream. That is a monstrous lap from Jason, and it's a clear statement of intent that this is the championship that he is trying to take away Andy McEwen's crown.
Yeah, well, I remember interviewing a few people at the end of last season, and they all pretty much said the same thing about Andy McEwen winning the championship, is the fact that it's quite nice just to see someone other than Jason Cooper winning it. So I wouldn't be surprised if Jason Cooper comes back and wins this championship, takes it a little bit more seriously, tries to take that crown off him, because I think he tried to play it off a little bit at the end of the season, say, oh, don't worry about it, I've won it enough times, sort of thing. But really, if you're a competitive racer, either in real life or in the sim, eats at you a little bit, doesn't it? And it's one of those things where you think, you know what, I want to come back, I want to prove myself and show that I am the best here, actually.
But it is good to see Andy McEwen actually having good success in the MX5. I remember seeing him in the TCRs, the BSR TCRs, and he was very good there. I'm not sure if were you broadcasting or commentating on that one?
I wasn't. I've heard good things, though. I've heard an enjoyable season for him, obviously.
It was a very good season for Andy McEwen, and then repeated that feat here, and is now seeing one of his teammates having a good scrap there. That is James Neve up the inside of Luke Cooper through turn 6, and again, not really fought too hard by Luke. As soon as James had a little sniff up the inside, the corner was pretty much his, and as a result, so was the position. So good race so far from James, up 4 positions so far this race. Andy McEwen is a little bit too far away, though, so I think it will be 4 positions made, and that's the end of it for James Neve, because he's looking very quick and actually pulling away a little bit from Luke Cooper just through those past few corners. James Sharp, though, hats off to him. Pro-Am driver, very good job indeed from him.
Yeah, but he had a little bit of a moment there. I'm not entirely sure what he was doing. That allowed Andy McEwen through and potentially to take
slowdown, I think.
I'm not sure what that was.
I think that was a slowdown coming from the corkscrew that he had to serve before the final corner. Let's have a look, because you can see he's going through there and then gets well off the racing line, slams onto the brakes, gets rid of all that time, and allows Andy McEwen through into 3rd place. So seems that it's going to be, again, first and second lockout for 5-Star Motorsport. Which one will it be, though? Jason Cooper looking very quick. Is Lars Fischer maybe just hanging back and looking to mount a late charge? We shall see as Wang Jilin, the other 5-Star Motorsport driver, right up behind Dan Skinner now, has taken a lot of time out of him in that last lap and is now breathing down his neck.
Yeah, it's breathing down his neck indeed. He's really throwing everything at him. Now, we saw Lin have a pretty good pace early on in the qualifying and maybe didn't quite have it as they went forward later into the session, but he's got his tyres bedded in now. He's getting into a bit of a rhythm. We don't know how much practice he's had. We don't know how much practice Dan Skinner's had either, but as he goes wide through probably the most important corner on the entire circuit, he'll know that that's not an ideal situation. Adam McNally, where are you going, my good sir? He almost piling into the back of both of them, including his teammate, but Lin gets past Dan Skinner, and amongst all of that, Adam McNally nearly ending him and other drivers' races in the process.
I wonder if we can get a replay of that, because that was a brilliant move by Wang Jilin. Expertly done onto the brakes, up into the corkscrew, managing the weight transfer, because you've got that right-hand kink, and then you need to balance it on the left as well, so you can see there, just getting it edged out to perfection there. Leaves plenty of room for drivers around him, even when they were going 3 wide. And it's always a nervous thing when you hear your spotter shout you on the left 3 wide, going into any corner, but at least the corkscrew was to go on board with Adam McNally at the perfect time to see him dive up the inside, but diving too deep, getting onto the dirty side of the track, and is actually going to lose out on that position and maybe out to Ferenc Arabian here. No, just about through. Hang on, but a huge jump for the anti-cut. Is that going to open up the door for the AM driver to have a little sniff up the inside on what is his debut in the championship? Not quite.
Not quite, but Luke Cooper is having a little bit of a sneaky peek, isn't he? He's, sorry, no, he's being overtaken. My apologies. Adam Delmont is the driver having the sneaky peek, the X-Side car, trying to go to the inside. Now, you said a couple of laps ago you don't want to go side by side through that particular corner, and they agree with you there by the looks of it. Lin almost, sorry, this is James Clark, isn't it? So Lin is the driver behind. But yes, no, sorry, Luke Cooper and James Clark are the 2 that are at the back of this little 3-way fight.
Lin will be catching them if they continue fighting like that. They will be scrapping away, Jack, and if they do continue to do exactly that, Wang Jilin will take all of that time out of him. In fact, actually, just as we were watching that fight, around about 0.6 of a second, eaten up in the space of about 3 corners.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that. We've only got about, 4.5 minutes to go? 3.5 minutes to go, isn't it? So what's that? That's about 2, maybe 3 laps if they get on with it a little bit quicker. Plenty of opportunities, really, because we've seen around Laguna Seca, Ed, plenty of times in plenty of different series, there is lots of opportunities for overtaking. So it's not like you have to only wait for one particular corner. It's always a great opportunity to have a little bit of a dive around the outside, around the inside of an MX5 around here.
Yeah, you are likely to see some pretty brave and pretty ballsy moves. I mean, we saw Andy McEwen's one up the inside through the corkscrew a little while ago. Now we've got James Sharp right up behind last season's champion, running the number 1, of course. It's going to be very tricky, I think, for James to justify actually trying to overtake Andy here, because he's a pro-am driver. He's going to be scoring good points, and he doesn't need to risk anything at this early stage of the season. His nearest rival, Dan Skinner, is currently down in 10th place.
I'm just going to have a look and make sure I have listed James Sharp as
I've checked as well, and he is a pro-am driver on the sheet as well.
Oh, right, okay. So I haven't made a mistake there, at least.
No, don't worry. If you did, don't worry, Jack. I'd be the first one to be messaging you and be like, "Oh, you got to change that." But no, he is definitely classed as a pro-am driver. Although for how much longer, with performances like this, I am not so sure, because he is looking very quick indeed. Was obviously 3rd in qualifying, but currently 4th in the race.
Yeah. Currently leading the race, though, is a driver we haven't really mentioned since he got to the front of it, and he's still putting in really very quick laps. His last lap time was a 36.78. That was 6-7 tenths quicker than Lars Fischer on that previous lap, who was currently in 2nd, and obviously his teammate. So, yeah, Jason Cooper looking pretty untouchable right now. In fact, both of these drivers are. As they went through shot there, 6 seconds Andy McEwen has to catch for Lars Fischer, and I don't think that's going to happen in the next minute and 20 seconds.
And to put it into perspective, how quick Jason Cooper is at, Andy McEwen is in third, lapping very well, bear in mind, but Jason Cooper on that last lap was a full second a lap faster.
Yes.
That just shows the level that Jason Cooper is running on at the moment and why so many drivers last season were so glad to see someone other than Andy winning out. Well, not someone other than Jason winning out. In the
Yes, no, I got what you. I was seeing where you were going with that. Don't worry. Speaking of Andy, though, both him and his teammates are getting in a little bit of a scrap. Not together, separate scraps, but this one is involving James Neve, and he outbreaks himself a little bit. Adam McNally-esque, isn't it? Always going through the corkscrew there. Genuinely gave Luke Cooper a little bit of a sniff, but it wasn't to be just for the time being. And Andy McEwen and James Sharp are pretty much as close as these two drivers are. So I'm going to try and keep an eye. It looks like these two drivers have gone. That's Andy McEwen going defensive on James Sharp. This is now going to be the penultimate lap of the race. No, it's going on to the final lap of the race, isn't it? And look at James Sharp's run here going into the first corner and over the line. Now going into the first corner, he's already got his car ahead. There's Andy McEwen not giving this up, but is he planning something to go in a different direction or a different stage of the track? No, he's going to try and hold it on the outside. There's a lot of momentum that needs to be done. It's double left-hander, double apex. He's importantly, though, going to be on the inside for the third corner, isn't he? And it's a good move by Andy McEwen. You could argue that he's defending this, but James Sharp is certainly making him think about it.
Yeah, that was a really brave move all the way around the outside, but that little bump over the anti-cut is going to cost him speed. Maybe down in towards turn 5, we're going to see a little bit of a move, a defensive move from Andy McEwen, who goes to the inside and uses the camera of the corner nicely just to help hook him around. You can turn in nice and early through there, so it's not too much worry. But again, defensive at every single point of this circuit. Andy McEwen's really feeling the pressure. And if he runs a little bit out of shape, no, he manages to judge it nicely indeed, but has to cover yet again the inside line through the corkscrew, because the runs that James Sharp is getting out of these corners are absolutely sublime. Both of them, as late as they dare onto the brakes, they need to give each other just about enough room, and they do, almost leaning on one another down through the corkscrew. And into towards the final few corners, we will see Jason Cooper, of course, take the checkered flag, but all eyes will be on this close fight, and he's just going to force himself up the inside, is he? Oh my word, they blink out for a brief moment, but they're still there, and Andy McEwen needs to defend the inside for all he's worth through the final corner, not let James Sharp get a run. Jason Cooper will come and see the checkered flag and has taken the race victory now. But look at this immense scrap, and it's going to be close at the line. Is it going to be just about Andy McEwen by a few thousandths of a second? He holds on to the podium.
He does indeed. Apologies to Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer for not showing them finishing that race, but you're just too far ahead. Your race is far too dull to show. No, I'm kidding. It's obviously not dull at all, but it's we just couldn't take our eyes off the third place scrap there, could we? We will give them a little bit of a replay over the line, of course, as the rest of the drivers start to filter over. So let's have a very quick look at Jason Cooper coming across the line here. We've got to give him his due because he takes the first race victory of the season, of course. First race victory of the night here at Laguna Seca. They tie in nicely. Big thank you to Katie Eames, who shared, liked, and commented on the Facebook stream. Evening, Jack. Hope you guys are well. Nice to speak to you again, Katie. Bit of a long time since we've been streaming on the channel. As Jason Cooper crosses the line, as does his teammate Lars Fischer. So it is a 5-star 1-2 to open up this season. And I tell you what, a lot of drivers will be a little bit intimidated by both of those cars being so quick, won't they, Ed?
They were very quick indeed, and I think as well it wasn't helped by the fact that Andy McEwen was scrapping so hard. He was actually a full 3.5 seconds slower than Jason Cooper on that last lap because of how close he was scrapping with James Sharp there. But I'll tell you what, that was a great battle that we were treated to. You can see there confirmation that Jason Cooper wins the first race of this new season, round 1, race 1, going his way ahead of Lars Fischer by 2.7 seconds. Such was his advantage at the line. Andy McEwen had a great titanic scrap with James Sharp that saw the former beating out the Pro-Am driver by 0.02 of a second at the line. Very close margins already at the start of the season. Adam Delmont finishes in 5th place, a very good top 5 finish to start off his championship campaign ahead of James Neve, Luke Cooper, James Clark, Wanji Lin, and Adam McNally in 10th place, rounding out the top 10. Then top of the AMS was Foreign's Arabian on his debut. A very good result from him, ahead of Dan Skinner, second place in Pro-Am for Excite, ahead of Adam Fox, second in Am, 13th overall, ahead of Wayne Douglas. Rounding out the Am podium is Colin Sansom, and rounding out the Pro-Am podium is Travis Linscombe Hatfield, ahead of Chris Dixon, Fiona Siddons, and last but certainly not least, Nathan Davies.
Yeah, Nathan Davis. I think we had all drivers. No, Nathan Davis unfortunately didn't finish and is not eligible for points, I don't believe. Or, indeed, the reverse grid. Now, if you were watching at the tail end of the last season, you may remember that I couldn't get the reverse wheel working. So here we are. We've got a random number generator. I'm going to try my best to make this look a little bit more fancy as we go through the season. But we've got 6th place down to 19th. That's 6th to a full reverse grid, basically. So let's see what can we get for the first evening. It's a 16 reverse grid, and you can see on your screens that means the Pro-Am driver that we highlighted a couple of times during that session, Travis Linscombe Hatfield, will be on pole, and Jason Cooper, who finished in first, will be all the way down in 16th place. So hopefully the BSR powers that be will have seen the fact that it's a top 16 reverse grid. Ed, maybe you can chuck that in the chat in the Discord if you don't mind. And so you can try and get the next server up as quickly as possible. Because, of course, we want to get more action on your screens for you to enjoy so far this evening. A big thank you to everyone who's been tuning in and commenting, liking and sharing and doing all the things that people do when it comes to the YouTube and Facebook streams. It's a delight to be your host for this season. So, I think, Ed, it's probably about that time that we go for a quick break while the next...
have someone in the interview waiting room already. He loves the chat, loves the chinwag. He seems to be waiting in the wings. I'm not sure if you can see it, Jack, but I can certainly drag him in. It's the man who won last season and is getting his season off to a good start with a podium, with an intense battle against James Sharp. It is Andy McEwen who joins us in the broadcast booth. Good to have you here, Andy. Good to have a chat. Been a while. Good to see you still fighting up there for the podiums.
Hi, Ed. Good to have you back. Long time no speak. Yeah, I thought come in for a chat because this might be the closest I get to a win all night. So I thought I'd take advantage of the fact I've somehow made the podium. I actually couldn't tell you how I managed that, but it was a good fun race.
How was the start of the race for you? Because we saw you losing out on one position that you quickly got back up at the corkscrew. But was it a matter of trying to get those moves done early before the field started to spread out a bit?
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't really sure what my race pace would be like. I know that Adam's been a bit quicker than me in some of the practice races we've done. So, when he got past me, I wasn't really planning on fighting him that hard. But I got the run into the corkscrew. He left the door open on the inside. And I'd have been silly not to go for it, really. It's a shame. I think he got a slow down as I kind of went through. So that's a shame. But and then from there, actually, I felt like I had decent race pace. It's not that easy to pass around here, though, compared to some other tracks. So, when James went and also got a slow down and sort of gifted me third place, I was only too happy to take it.
Yeah, and then, of course, in the closing stages, that final lap, when you were side by side through the corkscrew with James Sharp, we were so convinced there was going to be contact, but you just about managed to hang on to the podium. How was that? That surely got the heart rate going.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's not an easy place to go side by side. And we did about half a lap there side by side, I think. I was annoyed at myself for leaving the door open coming out of the last corner to start the last lap. And he got the switch back and I thought, well, that's that. But tried to kind of hang around the outside at the hairpin. It worked. And I got the place. But then he was just quicker than me at the end. He got superior traction up the hill. And good racing respect was given, but he'd been leaving me room throughout that whole battle, so I knew that that gave me some confidence to go side by side with him, and that it wouldn't all end in tears.
Excellent stuff. But with a 16 reverse grid, you'll find yourself starting way down in 14th place. Do you have confidence to maybe get a result even with the likes of Jason and Lars breathing down your neck at the start?
Well, look, this is where race pace sort of goes out the window. It's now just about survival. And I've done well out of that in the past. It's probably how I put together a successful championship campaign last season. I wasn't the fastest, but I just managed to survive these reverse grid races the best. So just try and stay out of trouble, make some early progress, and see where the lady looks on my side.
Let's see, indeed. Thank you for having a chat with us, Andy. And hopefully this isn't as close you get to the win. Hopefully we do see you fighting up there for the podiums and race wins later on tonight. But if not, thank you for joining us in the comms box, and we'll wish you all the best for the next round, which we will go to in a week's time, somewhere that I have no idea where it is actually, but we'll find out in the meantime. Cheers, bud.
Excellent. Cheers, guys. Ta-ra.
Yeah, so
Jack,
thank
that
you.
was a good chat, wasn't it, with Andy? So
Yeah, it's
we might
always
as well
nice to
drag him in while we wait for the next session to come up.
It's always nice to have a chat with someone to before we boot into the next session, isn't it? It fills the time a little bit, because otherwise we just have everybody on a holding screen, which isn't very nice, is it? So, but it is about that time that we have to stick you onto a holding screen, because I have to load into the next session, everyone. So we'll be back in a couple of minutes. Remember, it's a top 16 reverse grid that will see Travis Lincoln Hatfield on pole position and Jason Cooper all the way down the field. So tune in a couple of minutes' time. Hello everybody and welcome back to the BSR MX5 trophy. That lovely little chat that Ed had with Andy McEwen before actually was pretty much timed perfectly because the session went up as we finished that chat. Got a little bit of a 5-minute break. We're ready for watering the commentators and we can get back ready for the next session as well. Of course, if you're unfamiliar with the BSR MX5 Championship, we did mention it briefly during qualifying, but we'll mention it again because, well, why not? It's a 4-race format that we have here on these Tuesday nights. It's qualifying will dictate the grid for race number 1, and then races 2, 3 and 4 are based on a randomly generated reverse grid selection. So normally we have a spinning wheel. We will try and get that working for you. But we have a random number generator from Google that helps us out for this evening. And it picked the number 16 out of the bag, which means Travis Linscombe-Hatfield will be on pole position. Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer not only locked out the front row, they actually locked out the top 2 steps of the podium as well. However, they were inverted. They were inverted in qualifying. So it was Lars Fischer on pole position, Jason Cooper in second. It finished in race 1, Jason Cooper first, Lars Fischer in second place. So now you're all sort of caught up with what's cracking here at the BSR MX5. We can look forward to race number 2 of the evening. And I'm not entirely sure, but I believe I have a co-commentator alongside me. Ed, are we here?
Yep, we are here, and we are ready to go. We've got some exciting action, of course, with the first reverse grid of this new season. 16 reverse grid. Like you said, that I think we'll see Travis Linscombe-Hatfield on pole position. Jason Cooper starting all the way down in 16th. Will have some work to do, though. But he's done it before. Might be able to do it again, even though Laguna Seca is not really one of those circuits known for its ease of overtaking.
No, but we've also seen that there's plenty of opportunities now. And there's only really one corner that you really want to avoid trying to overtake someone through, and that's the one that's leading up to the corkscrew. Can't for the life of me remember what it's called, annoyingly, but it's probably the most important
Turn
corner.
6. They don't give it a name. It's
Yes.
American. They don't give them names. They're boring. They give them turn 6. Apart from the corkscrews, that's the only one that has a name. Oh, and the first corner, well, the first, which is, I guess, marked as the second corner, which is the Andretti hairpin.
Ah, of course it is.
Nothing.
I was trying to rack my brains. I knew that the first corner was called the Andretti hairpin, but I was trying to rack my brains thinking it's something significant, but what on earth is it? And I couldn't look up the track map while I was trying to control all the cameras, so I'm very glad you said that in the end, because that was really bugging me. Right, the checker flag has dropped during practice, which means we're about to go into the race. We'll be able to bring you the grid order, and Ed will hopefully be able to read you through it now. In fact,
yes,
no, we won't, because that's wrong. There we go.
It's right now. Here we go. Front row with Travis Linscombe-Hatfield leading the field from pole position, ahead of Colin Sansom in second. Then you have Wayne Douglas, first of the pros, in third, ahead of Adam Fox. Dan Skinner in fifth. Foreign's Arabian in sixth after his great start to the season with the M-Class victory. What can he do from sixth place? Adam McNally in seventh, ahead of Wanji Lin, James Clark, and Luke Cooper there in 10th with James Neave and Adam Delmont in 12th place. Then we see James Sharp, Andy McEwen, Lars Fischer, Jason Cooper, Chris Dixon and Fiona Siddons, and we see the lights coming on and we go racing now for the second time here at the Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. It's an excellent getaway from Wayne Douglas, who's already up the inside of Colin Sansom and is going to be boxed in. Look at this, he's going to try and force a way up the inside in towards the Andretti hairpin, but can't find any way around, and instead he's going to get passed all the way around the outside as there's a spin. Was that a bit of contact, or was that just overcooking of cold tyres perhaps for Travis Linscombe-Hatfield? Pole sitter all the way down now in last place. There did not the start that he was hoping for. Dan Skinner is in the thick of it somewhere in amongst all of these MX5s. You could probably just about pick him out. There he is. Number 17 making his way through. There's a spin just up ahead of him. Adam Fox almost getting collected, but thankfully no damages. There's a big incident in the background, and I think, who is that involved? That's Adam Delmont involved, and I think Wanji Lin as well.
Yep, Wanji Lin and Adam Delmont, you're absolutely right. Adam Delmont's actually spawned back to the pit. Jason Cooper has managed to survive, and Andy McEwen has as well. Andy did say in his interview that it's all about survival. Well, he's doing just that for the time being.
They're going side by side through turn 6. Oh, God, I think I was sick in my mouth a little bit. Thankfully, they all got through that safely in one piece. But dear, oh dear, that is scary. And never mind, they're going to try and go 3 wide up into the corkscrew there as Wanji staying well out of trouble, as is Lars Fischer. Jason Cooper right up behind, though. Now, Andy McEwen.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to find out where to look as Fiona Siddons
has lost the rear.
Very loose, doesn't she? And unfortunately ends up turning around and leads Adam Fox to do exactly the same thing, exactly one corner later. Not entirely sure whether there was contact on that one. There certainly wasn't with Fiona's, as the top 2 or 3 are, well, getting at each other a little bit. Adam McNally trying to carve their way through Colin Sampson and Wayne Douglas. Adam McNally can see a race victory here, can't he? He's just not entirely sure how to attack the next 2 drivers. Well, if they go that wide, Colin Sampson's just inviting him to take the race lead.
And I think take the race lead he does, although he's going to have to fight it all the way around the outside through turn 3. It'll need to be a very brave move if Adam is able to pull it off, and not quite coming to fruition there for the number 9. Adam McNally needing to sit behind Colin Sanderson for at least a couple of corners more. Dan Skinner having a very good start to the race, staying in 5th place. Luke Cooper, though, what a start he's had, up 6 places already. Is for the lead all the way around the outside. Can Adam McNally make it work again? Colin Sanderson defending perfectly, but now, dear oh dear, side by side in towards turn 6, and I think we're seeing Colin Sanderson backing out of it that time around. So Adam McNally into the lead of the race now and needs to start building a gap sooner rather than later. He's going to have to hope that Colin Sanderson is going to act like the cork in the bottle and try and hold up these drivers. He goes very deep into the corkscrew actually, but managing to stop it just in time. So late on the brakes, but Colin seems to have the confidence to get it stopped in time.
Yeah, he did indeed. It's very impressive, actually, from what is an AM class driver. Of course, if you want a bit of a breakdown of how the classes are dictated on the left-hand side of your screen, you can see that at the top of your screen. The greens are pros, the yellows are AMs, and the blues are the pro-AMs. As Wayne Douglas, Luke Cooper gets past Colin Sampson. Colin just absolutely slamming on the brakes there, it seems.
Luke with a brilliant move. I think Colin was trying to hold the inside line, and then I think just slowed it down a little bit too much, and he's going to now have Andy McEwen breathing down his neck, trying to find a way through. In fact, he does find a way through Andy McEwen as Jason Cooper's just stopped a little bit by Colin now, but I mean, this is a huge gaggle of cars. As, oh my word, Colin is just having a torrid time there. You see tapping the gravel on the exit and spinning across the circuit into the wall, I think, and losing yet more places. So Colin Sanderson dropping down through the field like a stone, unfortunately. And now we're seeing year 1 teammates, James Neve and Andy McEwen. Are we going to maybe think about some team orders going through? Well, I think we've just seen it come immediately as James Neve gets all sorts of out of shape and actually seems to come to a stop. What on earth has happened here to James Neve?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. I was doing something on my project file, and as you were covering that, he goes to the outside. He's on the racing line. He does turn a little bit. I would say maybe a hardware failure, but he does start turning. So I'm no idea.
And then that could be a hardware failure, because you see, as soon as, if you watch the replay again, there's one thing that I think we can notice there. As soon as the car stops, look at the wheels. You're going to see it here. He's going to come through. It must be some sort of failure. I think maybe some sort of stutter or blackout. And then look now, the wheels immediately go into the left in an instant. That says to me some sort of hardware failure. As oh my word, there's a car park in the final corner. Andy McEwen first on the scene, but he's somehow now up into 2nd place. Nope, Lars Fischer. Oh my word, look at the 5-star motorsport cars in formation, flying up towards the Andretti hairpin. And he's needing to try and keep as many of them at bay as he can. Jason Cooper's looking to go all the way around the outside. Can he get it to stick? Can he get it to work out for him? Needs to be looking up the inside in towards turn 3, but can't quite get it to work out. What on earth happened there, Jack?
I'm going to have a look, don't you worry. But I do want to see what happens here, because this is Jason Cooper and probably one of the favourites to win the championship, and Andy McEwen, the current reigning champion even. So it's going to be a little bit interesting. And obviously, That would have made one hell of a photo, wouldn't it? As they came across the line here. Laguna Seca,
Oh
big
my
lunge
word.
on the inside by Jason Cooper on Andy McEwen. And I think Lynn's going to have a little bit of a nibble as well, because McEwen got held up, couldn't get to the apex, and is not going to have the best run into turn number 6. And McEwen has to just accept defeat against the 5-star teams this time round. I'm sure he'll have a little bit of a
run
nibble
into the corkscrew.
towards corkscrew, won't he? As he's looking, a look at Lynn trying to defend that one, trying to keep to the inside, goes to the middle of the circuit. McEwen late on the brakes, trying to carry a lot of momentum. Will he get to the apex on the right-hand side? He does, but it's not going to be enough for the time being. He's going to go through a double left-hand turn now. McEwen chucking the back end out, trying to get the rear rotated to get back on the power as quickly as possible, and the car straightened up. It's not going to be enough for now. So, a 5-star team absolutely demolishing
the final
McEwen
corner. He's going to go for it.
one lap until the final corner. Lynn accepts defeat. Finally, McEwen gets through.
There's going to be a run though, a little bit of slipstream, because you can see how close Lynn is to the back of McEwen, making their way across the tone beam now to get through that last lap. I think that's the 5th lap in the books now, as Andy McEwen, very, very close to contact there as they came into the braking zone and parking it on the apex, stopping Lynn from finding a way past. And McEwen is going to have to defend very firmly now, as he just watches his championship rival Jason Cooper clear off into the sunset, you would imagine, helped out by his teammate Lars Fischer. Those two building that gap to now pretty much 1.75 seconds, nearly 2 seconds, you would imagine, next time by, because their pace, like we saw in the first race, is immense. And I think Andy will need to be settling for 4th place, and will actually be more hoping that he doesn't have to settle for 5th because of the pace of Lynn at the moment and how aggressive he's looking in the rearview mirror, and he needs to weather the storm now.
Yeah, I was going to say, they 5-star team have found a good 3rd teammate, haven't they, in Lynn by the looks of it. Maybe not quite as quick as the other two, but this is about as quick as Fisher was to Cooper last season. And, well, we can see how closely matched those two drivers are now. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to fear for the rest of the teams when it comes to the 5-star cars. Lynn getting the rear end right on the ragged edge over that exit curve, just manages to get it back into check as both drivers kick up a little bit of spattered dirt. I am still waiting for an opportunity to be actually able to show you exactly what happens.
I think we might need to go now, because if not, we won't ever get to it. So let's have a quick look at the incident. This is Luke Cooper now coming into the final corner. So way off the circuit there is the 25 of Wayne Douglas. Seems to slot in behind, and then it's an opportunistic move up the inside by Dan Skinner, and then that sort of kickstarts a huge sort of car park effect, isn't it? They all have to sort of stop almost and try and navigate their way through. Let's have a look on board if we can with Dan Skinner. We'll shift the focus to him as he dives up the inside, gets one car. I think he was more aiming to get ahead of Wayne Douglas, just overcooks it slightly, and then gets right into the side of Luke Cooper.
Lynn still not passed on Andy McEwen, but you feel like it's only a matter of time until another attack is launched onto him, isn't it? They're going to climb back up the hill now. McEwen had to go a little bit defensive. That's going to ruin his run, and through it into turn 6. It's not going to be a good enough run for Lynn, but he has James Sharp now breathing down his neck, so I'm sure he'll be extra motivated to try and get this move completed before Clark and then, Sharp and Clark both get involved in this little scrap. Colin Sansom, I let Andy through as a teammate, but messed up my own line, says Colin Sansom, as Andy McEwen almost messed up his own line through the corkscrew. Loose on the exit, and that's going to allow Lynn a gift to get on through.
Yeah, but Lynn runs a little bit wide. Andy McEwen is going to fight him back all the way through, and then is there going to be a switchback all the way through these lefts, then rights, then lefts, and now into the left of the final corner, sweeping his way around the outside, just giving enough space up the inside. Andy McEwen swinging the rear end out as well, off of the corner. Wanji Lin has the advantage. You can see as they make their way towards the Andretti hairpin, but Andy McEwen has made a move around the outside stick once before. Can he do it again? Hard onto the brakes, going to try and coast it through and carry the momentum. He needs to get the inside line through turn 3. That is going to be crucial, and he runs a little wide of the mark. Is that going to hamper him? No, as you can see, the track curves to the right-hand side, gives him the inside line for turn 3, and gives him back P4 as Lynn looks up the inside the turn 4, but that'd be very brave if he was able to properly chuck it up. It's not a heavy braking zone whatsoever, so You can see him conceding position, and now James Sharp, where is he going to look for a move? Maybe into the corkscrew, because he has been getting very good runs out of turn 6 all the race long.
He has indeed. I'm more on board with James Sharp because he's got the best position to view this from, hasn't he? Best seat in the house is James Sharp, as he's watching Lynn throw everything at Andy McEwen, and Andy McEwen then replying with his own little bit of mistakes and then sort of retaliation, shall we call them, as they head into the corkscrew. Nice and controlled onto the brakes for James Sharp.
Deep there.
Wow, no, you know, I would say nice and controlled there. I'd be complimentary. Yeah, McEwen going for a little bit more of a different line. Lynn going for that sort of close entrance into the corner, nicely over the apex, whereas in the next couple of corners, he's opened up the racing line. And McEwen goes defensive into the final corner. That is not going to be a particularly good run for him into the first. And you fear, as Lynn gets and lights up the rear wheels, that's going to give James Sharp the potential to not only get, I would say, 5th place, potentially 4th if McEwen is under threat, which he is.
And he's been very smart here. He's trying to give draft to the cars either side of him just to help out one another and keep them as close as they can to being side by side into the braking zone. You can see he went to the right-hand side, not only to open up a corner for himself, but also giving that a little bit more top-end speed to Wanji Lin, seeing if he was maybe going to scrap about with James Sharp. But here we go. We need a wrestling bell. Ding, ding, ding. Round 2, a repeat of what we saw in the first race. It's Andy McEwen having to defend yet again from James Sharp.
It is indeed, and I'll cut to it for a couple of seconds' time, but I just wanted to highlight Ferenc Arabian doing a particularly good job, just overtaking James Neve, who is not a slow driver whatsoever. I don't think Arabian is going to be an AM for very much longer. Anyway, as we head towards turn 6, they're looking to go side by side. Oh, Ed, they're not listening to you. They've tried it, and it's not quite worked out for the best for Andy McEwen. That gives Lynn an opportunity to go back through, and James Sharp's overtaken them all. And here comes James Clark as well on the outside into the corkscrew. Doesn't hold the momentum, actually gets thrown out a little bit as McEwen hooks up the second apex, and that gives him a nice drive and a nice exit to attack Lynn from. James Sharp, I'm sure, probably starting to feel the pressure now. I don't think he really anticipated getting to the lead of this battle quite so quickly.
And he's trying to find a way through if he can. He's going to look to go around the outside. He's done it again. He just loves this outside line through that final corner. It allows him plenty of space from the run off the AstroTurf to help him out. But again, just losing out a little bit to Wanji Lin. And throughout all of this, James Clark has a run. Are they going to try and make it 3 wide in towards the Andretti hairpin? No. And he's trying to slot in single file. Isn't quite able to do it. Gets a little bit squirrely onto the brakes. But can he hang it around again through the outside? I think he's going to have to concede the position to Wanji Lin. A little bit of door banging, proper touring car style racing this from Andy McEwen and James Clark, but James Clark conceding the position. What a scrap this is, though, from James Sharp down to Wanji Lin, Andy McEwen, James Clark, and Wayne Douglas as well, all in this close fight. It's anyone's guess as to who's going to be coming out in 4th place from a titanic battle. As look at Andy McEwen, he's really not hanging about. As soon as he sees any opportunity to make a move up the inside, he is going for it. But yet again, side by side in towards turn 6. Andy this time with the inside line is not going to run wide, but he might do if he clarts the curve like that. That's really going to hamper him up towards the corkscrew, and I think he'll struggle to try and keep James Clark at bay. Will he? No, James, I think, actually been quite smart, hanging in behind, not wanting to risk too much, especially on what we imagine to be the final lap of the race.
Yeah, which means we really should mention Adam McNally, because we haven't mentioned him since he's got into the start of the to the lead of this race, sorry. But he's absolutely flying, and he's given a little bit of a showmanship now. He gets the cameras stuck on him, a little bit of a kick of the rear wheels as they light up, and he wins the 2nd race of the season here and the 2nd race of the evening at Laguna Seca. Jason Cooper comes in behind him in 2nd place to take another podium, as does Lars Fischer to take 100% podium finishes from this season as well. We'll have a quick look back and see how his teammates got in. Lynn finished in 4th place. James Sharp finished in 4th place. Lynn finished in 5th. McEwen finished in 6th. James Clark in 7th. And Wayne Douglas in 8th. So that was, well, arguably it's going to be very hard to beat, isn't it, Ed, in terms of one of the battles of the season already. It was 5 cars involved for a good 5 minutes of that, and pretty much every single corner there was an overtake.
Yeah, and I have to say, all of those drivers, well done for keeping it clean. Around this circuit, it's so easy to try and force moves that aren't on because of how difficult it is to make moves and make them stick. But huge congratulations to all those drivers. I mean, Andy McEwen is going to be a bit disappointed to miss out on another podium. But I'll tell you what, he won't be too upset when he looks back at the race and can appreciate just how close it was. But I'll tell you what, you might be able to, hopefully, as we get the final drivers come across the line, run us through the finishing order for the second race here at Laguna Seca.
We will indeed, but before we do that, I'm trying to bring up, well, I'm about to bring up, the random number generator, because of course, we want to do the reverse grid randomizer before we get the order on our screen, so we can pass that along to the BSR powers that be. So, between 6th and 19, yet again, we generate number 8, a top 8 reverse grid, so a lot smaller. It's going to be a different race on our hands for race number 3 of the evening, that's for sure. So I'll bring up the results for race 2. And remember, keep number 8 in mind. Adam McNally will take the race victory by 1.1 seconds. It wasn't really that close. He just started messing about on the final corner. Otherwise, he would have won it probably by over 2. Jason Cooper was in second place from 16th on the grid. It's rather impressive. Lars Fischer, again, keeping up with his 5-star teammate and making it 100% podium positions. And remember, he got pole position as well earlier in the day. He finished in 3rd. James Sharp ended that scrap with everybody else pretty much in 4th place. The Pro-Am driver taking the Pro-Am victory very impressively. I don't really think he should be in Pro-Am, to be honest. He's just extremely quick, is James Sharp. Lynn was in 5th. Andy McEwen was 6th. 7th, James Clark. 8th, Wayne Douglas. 9th, Luke Cooper. The top 10 rounded out by Travis Linscomb Hatfield. I have, however, forgotten about to announce the race 3 podium pole sitter, which will be Wayne Douglas. 11th was James Neve. 12th, Ferenz Arabian. He won the AM class. 13th, Dan Skinner. 14th, Chris Dixon. And then not scoring points would be Fiona Siddons, Colin Sansom, Adam Fox, and Adam Delmont. So an entertaining race too there, Ed, I would say. It's if that is what we've got to look forward to, even though we've only got 18 or 19 drivers on the grid, I'm all here for it.
Yeah, it is very excellent racing. It's difficult to, I mean, to be fair, in that last race, I didn't even realise we only had 18 drivers in that because the excitement was so intense. That scrap for 4th place was electrifying, wasn't it? Seeing James Sharp, Wanji Din, Andy McEwen and James Clark all in there scrapping away. It was a real sight to see. So glad that everyone was able to keep it nice and clean. And actually, we do have a driver waiting in the wings. Let's bring in race 2 race victor into the comms booth, and it's Adam McNally. Congratulations, mate, on that result. It was very intense at the opening, a few sort of moments. You saw you trying to scrap away, trying to get past the leader, but eventually it came your way, and then it was just about trying to streak off before the likes of Jason Cooper came through.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's a win I wasn't expecting. I really do not get on with this track. Absolutely hate it. I thought we were at Watkins Glen as well, so I turned up 5 minutes before qualifying. Found out we were here. So it was a bit of a nightmare. But like I said, once I got past it, it was a case of, I think must have been a crash out of the final corner. And that just gave us enough time, but I was pushing as hard as I can and did not have the pace of Cooper and Laws behind. I could see them just reeling us in. And I was just praying that them laps would hurry up and finish.
But a mark of how good that result is for you and probably your championship as well is that you've pretty much equalled the amount of wins you had last season. I'm seeing on the sheet now that last season you only managed to rack up 1 race victory. Well, you've done that here on the first round. So surely that's a sign of better things to come this season.
Maybe I can have Delmont as my rear gunner this time. I've got the first win.
Maybe. Now you're, I think you might be top dog in terms of point scoring so far with X-Sites. Who knows? But
it's a fluke, trust us.
No, we'll see what happens for the coming rounds. But, mate, congratulations on your race victory. Do you think you're going to be able to have a similar result with a favourable reverse grid? Only a top 8 being reversed for the third race.
I mean, if everyone has a final corner like they did earlier, then possibly.
Well, for a circuit that you're not getting along with, you've had great success here, and hopefully we'll see plenty more of it as we have 2 more races to go. All the best, mate.
All right, thank you very much.
Good little chat there with Adam McNally. Race 2, race victor. Good to have a chat with each of our race victors throughout the evening. Allows us to have some more time as well in the gap between races and gives us a bit of insight into drivers. I mean, I was amazed to hear that he doesn't like Laguna Seca, and he wasn't expecting to do well around here because he looked pretty much at home in the last race, didn't he?
Yeah, it's just one of those things that happens sometimes. It's sometimes the chips fall your way. You'll turn up to certain meetings and you'll think, yes, I love this circuit. It's going to be a brilliant day or it's going to be a brilliant evening, and it all goes terribly, terribly wrong. And then sometimes you'll turn up, think, oh, for God's sake, we're doing this one. I forgot about it. I'll turn up 5 minutes before. Then they change the damn circuit, and all of a sudden you get a race victory. And it's like, oh, I don't know what I was ever complaining about. But yeah, no, it's a great drive by Adam McNally, and fingers crossed we'll be having another chat to him maybe after race number 3, because of course that top 8 reverse grid, it's very, very low. So all the drivers that we were sort of anticipating and enjoying watching in that race are all going to be gunning for race victories yet again. And I would put, you'd be a strong man not to put money on Jason Cooper, that's for sure. Right, we're going to jump into the next session, so please do stick around, like, subscribe, and do all those things, because we're going to be about 5 minutes before we get race number 3 underway. Welcome back, everyone, to race 3 of the BSR MX5 Championship here at round 1 of Laguna Seca. And it's been an absolutely brilliant first couple of races that we've had for you so far this evening. Hopefully you've enjoyed it immensely. We do see a top 8 reverse grid for race number 3. And Ed, that will bring a little bit of a different dynamic compared to the top 16 reverse grid we had a couple of, well, just that race ago.
Yeah, it will, but of course that gives us plenty of time to get excited about this new dynamic that we're going to see of slightly shorter reverse grids. And we wonder what that might bring through the field. Of course, that's going to be good news for Jason Cooper. He's going to look to try and keep up his 100% podium finish record, along with his teammate, of course, Lars Fischer. Say it's a 100% record. I mean, there's only been 2 races, and they've been on the podium in both of them, so
don't take it away from them, though.
Yeah, not going to take it away from them, of course, but if they can do it throughout the whole of the evening, that will be certainly much more impressive. I'm sure that they would agree as well. Now, drivers lining up on the grid. Jack, talk us through the starting order.
Yeah, it was a top 8, like we've mentioned, so that sees Wayne Douglas on pole position alongside James Clark, Andy McEwen, row 2 with Lynn alongside James Sharp on row 3 with Lars Fischer, and then row 4 is Jason Cooper and Adam McNally. Row 5, Luke Cooper and Travis Linscombe-Hatfield. And then in 11th and 12th is James Neve and Florence Arabian. He's doing very well on his first night here at BSR. Dan Skinner's 13th and 14th, Chris Dixon and Fiona Siddons in 15th. Colin Sampson in 16th place, and Adam Delmont rounds out the field in 17th place. Right, we've lost 2 drivers over the course of this evening, which is a bit of a shame, but hopefully won't take away any of the excitement. I'm sure it won't. So as the lights go out, we are racing for race number 3 here at Laguna Seca. It's Wayne Douglas to take us away, like we've mentioned, with James Clark in 2nd place. But is he going to remain in 2nd place? No, because Andy McEwen's got an absolute flyer. So is James Sharp and Lynn actually just behind. McEwen slots himself into 2nd, but there's a little bit of contact with, well, I think that was Clark. No,
James Clark. Yes, that was.
Clark.
That was James Clark that just came into the side of Andy McEwen onto the braking zone. There wasn't really anything that Andy could have done differently. He was as far to the left as he could have been without going into the back as well of Wayne Douglas, so he was kind of boxed in almost, but still a very good start from Andy. Wanji Lin, though, right up there with them, and we've already seen those two scrapping away as Wayne Douglas goes wide out of turn 4, and now into turn 5. Andy McEwen all the way around the outside. He's going to have to turn in, get the apex hooked up nicely, which he does. And now we see last season's champion into the lead for the first time this season. Can he stay there as Wanji Lin is right there behind him now as they make their way through turn 6, able to get that move done around the outside of Wayne Douglas.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Andy was probably hoping that Lynn wasn't going to be able to follow through quite as quickly. He was probably hoping that Douglas would do him a little bit of a favour, but he hasn't. So he's going to have to live with that one as Lars Fischer goes very, very deep through the corkscrew. Does manage to keep it on the track, though, which is rather important, I would say, for a racing driver. So well done to him for Lars Fischer. Adam McNally, well, he was a driver that almost didn't manage that feat at the corkscrew in the first race, but he did that time round as well. He's in 7th. For the time being, is the race 2 winner. And, well, these 2 drivers, I'm sure, will be hoping to chase down Jason Cooper and then follow him through as they carve through the order, because I don't think James Sharp or Wayne Douglas really have the ultimate pace on the likes of Cooper and Fischer. And potentially McNally as well, because we can't take anything away from his race 2 victory.
Yeah, we certainly can't. I mean, there's been some excellent performances already at the start of this race. I mean, Wanji Lin had a great getaway off the line as Adam Delmont, all the way from the back of the field, already up into 12th place. And we'll try and make up for the disappointment earlier on as there's contact, and that is Wayne Douglas getting tagged by the number 5. That was James Clark yet again in the walls, I think. But I'm not sure if that was more Wayne Douglas coming across, or was that James Sharp? Actually, no, it was James Sharp. It was the other Swift Cooper car, the 44, not the 5. My mistake. I'm sorry there, James. I've stuck you in it there and accused you of something that you hadn't done. It was your teammate, James, that was maybe a wrong, and we will see later on if we get a brief moment to have a look at that incident, because there's still scrapping going on. James Sharp now with Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer for company.
Yeah, but at the front of the order, these 2 are broken away by 3.5 seconds. We will take a revisit to Wayne Douglas and what exactly happened to him. We're going to pretty much be watching these two drivers, I imagine, for the next 5 minutes, because if race 2 is anything to go by, they're going to be pretty much stuck nose to tail. Now, this is actually relatively far apart, considering how close they were in race 2, so I'm going to have a quick glance at what happened to Wayne Douglas here. Now, Wayne Douglas is on the number 25, James Clark's on the number 44, looking up his inside right now. Douglas starts to come across. Oh, Ed, I think Douglas. Yeah, I think you could say that either way, though, really, because I don't believe James Clark was actually far enough alongside him when they got to the apex to warrant looking up the inside, whereas Wayne Douglas probably should have expected it, and well, it didn't when he returned in. So as McEwen defends into turn 1, I suppose that one's for the stewards, I suppose.
Yeah, if the car is that far back but still looking up your inside, you can afford to give more space up the inside and carry the momentum all the way around the outside and still be ahead by the time you get to turn 4. But it's all about those moments in the heat of the moment. Of course, as commentators, we have the benefit of hindsight. It's easy for us to say, oh, drivers should have done this, they should have done that. But when you're actually in the cockpit racing away and you need to make those split-second decisions, get your teeth back in, Ed, it's so easy just to make the wrong choice and then kick yourself and be too harsh on yourself right afterwards. So I think that is probably going to be looked down as a racing incident by the stewards, but you can put that behind us, as behind James Sharp is Jason Cooper and might be in front as they come up towards the corkscrew. I think it's going to be a matter of James Sharp not wanting to fight this one too much, but as well not wanting to lose out on position to Lars Fischer, because he can see that Andy McEwen or Angie Lin aren't too far away. They're only 3 seconds ahead, and if they start scrapping, Jason Cooper is going to bring James Sharp into this fight, and he could still potentially get a race victory out of this.
That's sort of what James Sharp did in the last race, wasn't it? He didn't quite have the pace, but because they were scrapping amongst themselves for so long, he got right there involved and managed to make his way to the front of the order, and then they kept scrapping with each other, which meant he could pull away a nice lead. So, yeah, James Sharp has been there, done that already this season. We're a third of the way through this particular race. Talking about different classes, though, as McEwen decides to rearrange.
Yeah, Linscombe Hatfield in the pits.
Sorry?
Linscombe Hatfield in the second place in the Pro-Ams, just into the pits, and I'm not sure what's happened there.
I'm not entirely sure either, to be honest. He's just entered the pit lane. Doesn't say any reason why. It's not giving me any kind of instance, so that is a bit of a strange one. As Ferenz Arabian on his debut of the series, he gets past Adam Delmont, or that might have been a re-overtake actually, because I think Delmont is trying to get through the order, just not been able to do it particularly quickly.
No, but he's going to have a little bit of a look potentially up in towards turn 5. Going to try and catch him unawares. Yes, he goes up the inside. There's a nice bit of camber there. If you can hook it up nicely, carry the momentum through, he's going to just get a bit in on the run out of the corner, but it's still going to be close enough alongside to warrant being given some space at the inside. And yeah, that's the reason why you don't go side by side through turn 6. I think that was always an inevitability, and unfortunately, Florence Arabian, the AM driver, not really with the experience, I feel, of some of these other drivers. It's catching out, but he's still in the lead of his class, let's not forget. So it's a minor setback, and it was only one position he lost. It could have gone a lot worse. Meanwhile, up in front, Andy McEwen continues to lead ahead of Wanji Lin. I think the two of them have stopped fighting a little bit because they know that Jason Cooper is going to be fast approaching. And I mean, we're only 6.5 minutes into this race. The gap between second and third, only 2 seconds, and Jason Cooper is, you can be sure of him trying to whittle that down. That's for certain.
He's about to come across the line, and he has whittled it down. In fact, McEwen was a 138.3, basically. And Jason Cooper was a 137.6. So it's a good 0.6 of a second there between the two. Well, no, not more than that, actually, isn't it? 0.7 of a second between the drivers. So on that previous lap. But you're saying that they're probably not scrapping anymore. They haven't shown an overtaking opportunity in the past half a lap. But if I was Jason Cooper and I was teammates with Lin, I'll be telling him to stick it up the inside of McEwen any which way he can. If there's an opportunity, slow him down. Let me get involved. We can take a 1-2, potentially a 1-2-3, because Lars Fischer isn't that far behind.
I think the message has just been sent through, and I mean, to be fair for Andy McEwen, it's not for lack of trying to pull away from Jason Cooper. His last lap was his best of the race so far, but Jason Cooper with a purple lap has just completely blown it out of the water now. Andy Lin is going to look to go round the outside into the corkscrew. That's going to be very brave, and is not able to find a way through. But again, not giving any more than about a couple of feet back from the rear bumper of Andy McEwen at pretty much every single time, less than a car's width, or a car's length rather, separating them pretty much this entire lap. I think this is the biggest gap we've ever seen, which is good news for Andy McEwen because it's into key braking zone of the final corner where we've seen so many drivers send a move up the inside. But now Jason Cooper has got that gap down to 1 second. What did we say? It was around about 2 seconds at the line. I think we've seen Jason Cooper take out pretty much 1 whole second over just one lap. In fact, yep, there we go. The times have just confirmed that you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. Jason Cooper, 37.6. Andy McEwen, 38.6. There's, oh my word, a little bit of an exclamation of surprise exiting the mouth of Jack there. And I think maybe from Andy as well in the cockpit, because that was a very little sudden look up the inside and a little bit of contact, but thankfully no damage done.
I'd call that a nibble. That was what that was. It was there was a little nibble up the inside for Lynn on McEwen there, and it's actually dropped him back by well, maybe a car length or two. But you can see now this is going to be. I'm not going to say a 3-car battle for the race lead. I'm going to say a 5-car battle for the race lead because Lars Fischer. There we go. He's just in shot. Well, you can't quite see him behind James Sharp's car, but it's going to be very, very close. And we're into the final, well, pretty much into the final third of this particular race. Sorry, of the third race. In fact, actually, there's lots of symmetry that's going on here. It's quite satisfying, really, if you're partial to a bit of OCD. But it's going to be really interesting to see how McEwen can handle the pressure now. He's already managed to stave off the attacks from Lynn for 9.5 minutes, plus most of the last race as well. But with the teammates coming up strong behind, is he going to have the guile to sort of absorb that much pressure in the last 5 minutes? Well, if he's hitting curbs like that, Ed, it's not going to be so easy.
No, it isn't, but he parks it on the apex of the final corner, gives him a little bit of breathing room, but of course the slipstream was going to really help out Wanji Lin. He might be boxed in though because his teammate Jason Cooper has an almighty run looking all the way around the outside. They're going to try and go, oh my word, 3 wide potentially. No, just about Wanji Lin backing out of that manoeuvre and managing to actually keep Jason Cooper in behind. Maybe in this early stage of the season, we're not seeing any team orders coming through because if I was Jason Cooper, I'd be saying, I'm quicker, I can get past Andy a lot quicker and maybe help you out in passing him as well. Turns out, though, it's still going to be McEwen from Lin, from Cooper. Sharp, like we said, is just waiting in the wings. He's done this time and time again all evening long. He's still got decent pace, but I think he's very smart with how he approaches these races. He can see that they're going to come into now the final 4 minutes. He might get a little bit punchier, but for now he's content just to stay in 4th place.
He is, isn't he? And as I said, I don't particularly think he's going to be, well, like you said, sorry, I don't think he's particularly going to be worried about that because there is going to be an opportunity to move forward as soon as someone makes an intentional move to really put another driver off. And, well, they can already see that the McEwen's having to go a little bit defensive. You're absolutely right. Cooper could bring out the team orders card. He could say to Lynn, move out the way, I want to attack him. You've had your chance, move out the way. And, you know, if I get through, I'll try and bring you with me or, you know, I'll owe you on through the rest of the season. But speaking from family experience, it doesn't always get repaid as Cooper looks all the way up the inside, dives for the apex and manages to make it. No, he doesn't manage to make it stick, does he? It was a little bit of a late lunge. Maybe he didn't even expect it, but
there was a bit of contact actually into the braking zone. That was what caused it. As a little bit of a tap from the front end of Cooper, just at the rear bumper of Wanji Lin that unsettled the rear into the braking zone. And that is really dangerous in these MX5s. You can have quite a nasty accident if you lose that rear end stability into those heavy braking zones like we have at the final corner here at Laguna Seca. But thankfully it's all just about above board. As Andy McEwen is, look at this, really feeling the pressure now for Wanji Lin. He's able to extend a little bit of an advantage through turn 4. Seems to be quite quick through here. Turn 5 though, Wanji Lin does appear to get a lot closer on the exit. One's slightly wide of the mark. Good breathing space for Andy McEwen now. I say breathing space, it's only what, 0.3 of a second. That's the level of breathing space we're talking about. Turn 6 is one that Andy does really sort of struggle on, and now Wanji Lin is closing in, but not enough to make a move. As now I think the team orders card has been played. That is bad news for Andy McEwen because he knows that of the 5-star motorsport drivers, Well, the man behind him is the fastest Jason Cooper, favourite for this season's championship, already with a first place to his name, a second place as well. Looking to try and take another trip to the top step here at Laguna Seca, and he's going to have 2 laps to do it in. Look at that, judging that final corner excellently, and now he's going to have a run on Andy McEwen. This might be over sooner than we think here.
He's got a really good draft. That side draft almost working and coming in clutch on the MX5. Just very close to making contact. McEwen's going to be on the inside, but into the braking zone. It's not quite fully in front is Jason Cooper, but it's going to be convincing enough, I believe. We've seen McEwen pull this move off a couple of times through the Andretti hairpin and into turn 3. Jason Cooper's just returned the favour. Really good move by the 5-star champion favourite, potentially, at this point in the season. It's a brave shout.
Snip up the inside from Andy.
Yeah, it clatters the curb, though. It's not going to be good enough to get a run down into turn 5 and 6. He is looking, but I think that's more to try and put Cooper off than anything else. With a minute to go, I believe this potentially might be the penultimate lap. I think we're going to get one more. It's about a minute and a half lap, isn't it? And we're about halfway through it now. So, yeah, I believe probably about... Oh, I reckon Andy McEwen, if he can keep with Jason Cooper here, he might have another lap to have another go at trying to get past. As James Sharp and Lars Fischer go side by side towards the corkscrew. Lars Fischer gets through to make it a 5-star. Whoa, I don't think he really meant to do that. And I don't think Lynn really appreciated it. But there was probably a little bit of warning over a team radio. And Lynn goes very deep himself just to try and avoid the contact.
Yeah, and that's given Andy a little bit more comfort to work with, about half a second, the gap between himself and Wanji Lin. But Jason Cooper takes so much time out of Andy through the corkscrew and has built that gap now to 6/10 of a second. As they come out of the final corner, Andy has got a lot of work to do to try and reel in Jason Cooper. They do come to the line just, you see the break that's coming now, just before the 15-minute mark. So they do barely have one more lap to go. Jason Cooper ahead of Andy. Jason looking to get his second race victory of the evening and of the season. Andy looking for his first. Can he bring that gap down, or really rather have to defend his second place from Wanji Lin? Wanji looking for, I believe, what would be his first podium of the season. And he has to defend really deeply now into turn 5. Oh my word, I thought we were going to see them touch. I think I do hear a little bit of rubbing. And that's slowed down Andy something fierce. And oh dear, they're going to go 3 wide. They're going to go 3 wide into turn 6. Hold your breath, everyone. Close your eyes. Oh my word, cross your fingers, cross your toes. And they just get through in one piece. Scary stuff, but they manage it. The corkscrew. Lars Fischer somehow managed to make all of that work out in his favour, coming from what was 4th place now up into 2nd in the space of 1 corner. That would be a brilliant result from Lars, and yet again we're going to have a pretty much an identical top 3 to what we had in the first race. Jason Cooper coming through the final corner will greet the checkered flag in first place to take his second victory of the evening, of the season. Lars Fischer will come in second place for the second time this evening, as will Andy McEwen in third, maybe just about. As look at this, up to the line, and yet again a close finish with James Sharp. It's the same top 4 that we had in race 1.
It is indeed, and by looks of it, we're going to have another photo finish just behind. Adam Delmont came in 9th with James Clark in 8th place. So, yeah, I mean, it's a shame. I was sort of keeping an eye on the timings of Adam Delmont and James Clark and Luke Cooper, and it looked like a very entertaining battle. Adam McNally, I think, was involved in it as well. Very entertaining battle, but we just couldn't really take the cameras off the higher positioned cars. So I do apologise to the Excite drivers for not being able to show what was probably a very, very exciting battle. But I do know that they live stream their races, so I'm sure they'll be able to watch at least their perspectives back nice and closely. But really good race all round from a number of these drivers. Really well done to Jason Cooper getting through and then pulling away like he did. It was very impressive.
Yeah, it was really, really good stuff from Jason. You can see why he is favourite for the title already this season. But I have to say, I think Andy McEwen, this isn't going to be his favourite circuit in the world. It doesn't seem to be one that he's quite at home with. So for him to have 2 podiums to his name already this evening is going to be good for him when we come to circuits that might favour his style a little bit more. But I think we are getting ready to reveal the reverse grid
We are
for
indeed.
the fourth and final race. So, Jack, I think I've talked enough. Why don't you bring us through the reverse grid and also the finishing order for that third race?
Will do, yeah. No, so between 6 and 19, you know the drill by now if you've been watching, and it's number 9. We're going for number 9. So a fairly low reverse grid yet again. So the powers that be, there you go. You know what the number is now. Let's get it going. And we'll bring up the finishing order of race number 3 so you can see what that means for the fourth race of the evening. Jason Cooper took home the race victory with Lars Fischer taking second place. Those two drivers have got, well, they've locked out the podium for pretty much all 3 races so far. Well, they have, in fact. Andy McEwen locked out the podium for this particular race, though. He's in 3rd place. James Sharp was in 4th and won the Pro-Am yet again. I think we're going to be saying that quite a few times this season. Lynn ended up in 5th after a race-long battle with McEwen. He couldn't quite get him, and Sharp actually managed to take advantage of him being a little bit slower as a consequence. Adam McNally was 6th. Luke Cooper was 7th. James Clark was in 8th. Adam Delmont is in 9th and will be on pole position for race number 4 here at Laguna Seca. Ferenz Arabian takes home another AM victory. He finished in the top 10 with Wayne Douglas in 11th, 12th Fiona Siddons, 13th Chris Dixon, 14th Travis Linscombe Hatfield, and then the non-scorers for this particular race were Dan Skinner, James Neve and Colin Sampson. Now, just going to give them a couple of seconds time to see if anybody wants to come in to have another little chat. I know Andy did say that he thought the race 1 was going to be as close as he was going to get to coming in for an interview, but actually he's on the podium here in race number 3. Maybe he'll join us for a quick word, Ed. We'll wait and see.
We will wait, but we can't wait too long because I believe the next race is going to be up and coming in about 10 minutes' time. So we'll give them a little while to see if any drivers are fancying having a chat with us. Even if they didn't have a good result, we always like to have a chat with as many drivers as possible, but it doesn't seem to me, Jack, like we're going to be getting any. So I think it is time to go for a quick break and bring you all the action from the exciting final race of the evening.
And we are back for the final time here at Laguna Seca for the BSR MX5 Trophy Round 1. It's a brand new series. Well, it's not brand new series to Jacko Racing, but it's the first time we've had the full season on our streaming service. Well, by streaming service, I mean our channel on the streaming services that already exist. But it's delightful to be your host and have it here for this particular season. Thank you very much for everyone who's tuned in and watched. My name's Jack Oliphant, and well, alongside me has been Ed May all evening, and hopefully will be for the foreseeable future as well. Ed, it's been a fantastic night of racing, hasn't it? That race 2 personally was a highlight of mine, but race 3 didn't disappoint either. There was plenty of close action. There was dive bombs left, right, and centre, and it was sort of felt like it was ready to bubble over at any minute.
Yeah, that last race was really great, not only because we saw great defensive drive from Emmanuel Kim, but also because we saw last season's 2 main championship rivals having their first proper on-track fight, wasn't it? It was great to see Jason Cooper and Andy McEwen duking it out for the little while that they were together on the road, but it was, of course, Jason Cooper that ended up winning the 3rd race, and with only a 9 reverse grid, he's going to be starting inside the top 10. Could still be on track for yet another victory. Three race victories out of 4 races is, well, certainly a very good return on his investment so far tonight, and could be a good benchmark for the championship to come.
Yeah, I think people would forgive us for saying that he would be the favourite if it was the case that he took that many victories out of the first evening. But there's a long way to go. I've been involved in championships. In fact, the championship I'm currently commentating on Wednesday night started at Laguna Seca, and it was MX5s. And it had a runaway leader, and all of a sudden he's been clawed back over the last couple of weeks. So you never know. It could end up going the same way here at the BSR. But we'll get to that in a couple of weeks' time, of course. We'll see Adam Delmont on pole position for race number 4 here, with James Clark alongside him. Luke Cooper in 3rd and Adam McNally in 4th. 5th is Lynn, with 6th being the Pro-Am driver of James Sharp. Andy McEwen in 7th, Lars Fisher in 8th, Jason Cooper 9th, Wayne Douglas in 10th. But I believe we're about to go racing, so I'll take that away, because we have engine notes, we have lights, and we have action here at the Laguna Seca. And it's a good start by Adam Delmont, and the lead of this race to start with. James Clark getting a little bit slow off the start line, with Luke Cooper flying up his inside to take 2nd place. Yilin in 3rd with the headlights ablaze, with one driver lagging out on the outside as well, and I believe that is a struggling Clark. He loses 1 position to Cooper, he loses another position to Lynn, and is that James Steve? No, it's Andy McEwen getting a little bit loose on the rear end of the circuit.
That's Fiona Siddons, I think, in the wall as well, just ahead of McEwen. There was a big moment there. So Fiona Siddons, I think that was actually just rather behind Andy McEwen, but that's not the start that Andy was hoping for. Just losing the rear end is, oh my word, it just seems to keep on going. And oh my word, I think the teammates are colliding as well. I think that was Linscombe Hatfield and Chris Dixon maybe coming to blows. I don't know, but it's certainly not a good start to the race for several drivers. At least Andy McEwen is still all in one piece, but it won't be too much comfort for him, as he's already seen his main rival, Jason Cooper, up into 5th place, while he's all the way down, or rather up into 6th place, all the way, while Andy's all the way down in 10th. Not what he was hoping for, but James Clark will be hoping for a good turn of pace to see if he can close up to Angie Lynn, and maybe see if he can get ahead of Adam Delmont, who could be favourite for the race victories. He had a lot of good pace so far, but just a lot of rotten luck, as there's been an incident further back. And is that maybe Wayne Douglas that's dropping back down the order? Yes, it is, all the way off through the exit of turn 9. What is going on here with Fiona Siddons as well? Has she been caught up in another incident?
No, I think Fiona
oh my word, it's all kicking off.
I think Fiona Siddons just chucked it off in sympathy, saw the driver spinning in front and unfortunately lost the rear end herself.
Dear, oh dear, so many drivers losing out already, but drivers that have been gaining, Lars Fisher and Jason Cooper. They're still in touch as well, actually, with Adam Delmont, who is in the lead of this race, but how much longer is Wanji Lin closing that gap down, as is James Clark. James Sharp as well, the Pro-Am driver that we imagine won't be Pro-Am for much longer if his pace continues at the rate it has been. Will have been winning every single race in his Pro-Am class. I think that will probably be swiftly changed around for the Swift Cooper Esports driver, probably in time for the next round, or at least in time for the third.
You would think so, wouldn't you? It's we're not campaigning against James Sharp, but just saying that he's particularly quick, and I'm pretty sure he raced
campaigning for fairer racing.
Yeah, he's been racing in the BSR before. I'm pretty sure he wasn't a pro-am back then either. Look at that lovely move up the inside by Jason Cooper, though, on
that was
James
Lars
Sharp.
Fisher.
Was it? Oh, it was. My apologies. Lars Fisher, great job overtaking there, James Sharp. Going through the corkscrew, my apologies. It gets a glance.
Getting mistaken for Jason Cooper is still a compliment, though. I think, to be fair to him, it's a very good move that by Lars Fisher. Won't be too upset that we've compared him to Jason Cooper, the driver that's won so many championships across the seasons in BSR. But now it's a different 5-star motorsport driver racing for the lead. It's Wanji Lin, who's going to look all the way around the outside of Adam Delmont, who's holding the inside line. I think he's going to come through still in the lead of this race, but all of this battling is allowing his teammates to close the gap down. Jason Cooper, Lars Fisher. You can see they're not too far back whatsoever, as there's a very slow Adam McNally there. I'm not sure what's gone on there. Some sort of penalty that he's looking to serve, but I'm not sure where he picked it up from.
Yeah, well, he went for the overtake. It looked like a good overtake.
Oh, I think he was actually letting him past rather than actually serving a penalty.
That's what I was just finding out. Yeah, but unfortunately that meant that he had to let James Neve past as well.
Dan Skinner and Andy McEwen now battling for 9th place. Dan closing in down towards turn 6, but further ahead coming into the corkscrew, Adam Delmont ahead of Wanji Lin. How much longer, we're not sure, but we know Adam Delmont, he's put up some brilliant drives across the seasons in BSR MX5s and need to do yet another great determined defensive drive to keep Wanji Lin at bay. One of the real stars of the show tonight, you have to say, is the driver that, at least I'm seeing for the first time, Wanji Lin, in the 5-star motorsport cars. They found a real big talent here, I think, and a driver that they can really nurture, because we saw that with Lars Fischer. They nurtured him and made him into a very top-level driver. I think we can say the same for Wanji Lin tonight, because he is certainly defying and exceeding expectations from him so far.
Yeah, I think it's he's definitely been one of the most entertaining drivers, hasn't he? I think if we were to award a potential driver of the day, then he would certainly be high up on that list. The problem for Lin is the fact that he's been thereabouts, making lots of moves, but he hasn't actually made many of them actually stick and hold on to the place once he's got it. That's sort of the issue that he's had. He's been fairly quick. He's been very aggressive, very entertaining, but he hasn't really sort of cut the mustard in terms of actually getting those race results. Now he's in 2nd place. He's got 1 second back to Lars Fischer's teammate, who have just both gotten past James Clark. Does he have the bottle in him to now attack Adam Delmont and do what he couldn't do against Andy McEwen, which is make the position, keep it, and keep his teammates behind him?
It's actually a key point you mentioned, actually, because he's been really up there fighting with it, but he's just a little bit shy of those podiums. I mean, he looked to be scrapping over with Andy McEwen for 2nd place, then all of a sudden found himself finishing outside the podium behind Andy McEwen, but also behind his teammate that was a good couple of positions back. So it is very intriguing to see that he can make the moves, but doesn't quite seem to be able to hang on to them for much longer than he was hoping for. Already looks to the outside line. He favours this sort of switchback manoeuvre. He goes very wide into the final corner, manages to get the apex and carry the momentum through and onto the exit, and now into the slipstream. He needs to try and find a way through, but again, around the outside. Can he be brave enough to get late on the brakes and hang it out? No, he doesn't. He lifts off. Very conservative, actually, from a driver that we said was quite aggressive. We're seeing a little bit more of a calm approach, and maybe it's because we are only 7 minutes into this race, not quite at the halfway mark yet. So we might be seeing Wanji just backing off a touch and letting his teammates come through. This is Luke Cooper. This is out of the corkscrew coming into the left-hander, and there's some rear-end damage, and I think that might be causing some rear-end stability issues because, well, spins it all the way around unassisted, all by himself, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's not ideal, is it, for Luke Cooper? And I believe that's going to be a bit of a long race now before he can get anywhere close. I just cut away from the battle as soon as I shouldn't have done, unfortunately, and as a producer, that's just absolutely classic. Jason Cooper, I thought, maybe not close enough to attack on Lars Fischer. To be fair, I don't think he needed to be close enough to attack because Lars Fischer sort of let him go, to be honest. And so he's now down to
James
4th.
Sharp is in a battle though here. Sorry, just going to see. You can just follow it. Here we go. James Sharp scrapping away and just about giving a little bit of a love tap there to James Neve as he passes by 4th place. And James Neve might actually lose out here to Adam McNally, who sees an opportunity, snatches at it and grabs a hold of P8. So all the space for one corner. It was the smallest of taps. I don't think there was anything untoward in it, but it has seen James Sharp profit a lot and James Neve lose out to positions, unfortunately.
Does indeed, but as we focus back further forward to Adam McNally's teammate, Adam Delmont, we can see that Lynn, again, not quite close enough, but the important thing is, you just see there's some headlights creeping round Lynn's car. Very wide by Delmont, gets the second apex just about. But yeah, that's a 5-star team. The entire team have now caught up to the back of the leading driver. Can he pull off what McEwen did for the majority of race number 3 and hold off the attack? He ended up caving in the end to the pressure, but he did do a very good job at holding them for the time being. And Adam Delmont, to be fair to him, has done exactly that, hasn't he, Ed? He's held off Lynn for as long as McEwen did, nearly. He's 9 minutes in. If he does it for another couple, we can see another podium sitter for someone who isn't a 5-star team, and which is, again, quite nice to see at this point.
Yeah, but you might see a 5-star front 3 lockout. They might get all steps of the podium here as Adam Delmont out of shape. He's going to have to be brave. Maybe around the outside into the corkscrew. You can see that Wanji Lin has got a little bit of a look at the inside. Is there a contact? Maybe, but he still makes the move stick. Nevertheless, Adam Delmont losing out there as Wanji Lin slides up the inside through the corkscrew. Came from a little way back, but didn't run wide, didn't make any egregious mistakes. And I think that was just hard racing that's seen Adam Delmont sadly come off a little bit worse.
Yeah, and I think now Lynn's got into the race lead. We're going to have to start seeing some flying laps from him. We're going to have to start seeing what he's made of. He's gotten into the lead. There's no attack from Delmont. He's safe. Can he start putting in the qualifying laps? Can he pull away? And especially if the likes of Jason Cooper and Lars Fischer both get past Delmont, as they're looking to now, can Lynn actually, go for it, get that race victory that he's been craving for so far this evening? And to be fair, you would argue he deserves a podium at some point this evening, doesn't he, Ed? He doesn't want that monkey on his back for too long.
No, it doesn't. And to be fair, there wouldn't be any more deserving race winners than Wanji Lin. He's been putting on moves all evening long, not making any mistakes as well. He's been really clever with how he's approached this race. All of the races, to be fair, not been involved in any contact. He's been aggressive, but measured in his aggression, which is the good thing. He's all the time you see drivers try and chuck moves when they're not on. He's been very calculated, and as soon as he sees the opportunity, he seizes it. He doesn't make any sort of half moves, sort of little looks, and then backs out of it and causes dangerous situations. He's always in the right place at the right time, and he's currently in the lead with only 4 minutes to go. Is this maybe right place, right time to seal the race victory? Well, we might find out in about 2, maybe 3 laps time. As Jason Cooper is in hot pursuit as well. Let's not count him out of yet another race victory. Further back, though, Colin Sansom is in a bit of a fight here, trying to find a way past the 515, the Pro-Am driver of Travis Linscombe Hatfield. And this would actually be a good result for Colin Sansom to come through with the AM class victory. Interestingly enough, though, where... Just trying to look up and down for so no, I don't think it's here.
Who are you looking for?
I was looking for Enzo Arabian, who I don't think is in the race actually. No, he's not. So we will see a different driver win the AM class, which is good to see from Colin Sansom. Wanji Lin, though, leading still. I think we will get, as they come up to the line, probably 2 more laps after this one. It's a little while for Wanji Lin to hang on to the lead for Adam Delmont, looking very quick, especially at this area of the circuit now. If he can get a good run through turn 6, he's going to be right up there in towards the corkscrew, just looking up to the inside, filling up the rearview mirrors, letting him know that he's there. The drivers. I'm not sure if they're blinking out just for me or if they're just bringing for you as well, Jacko. But this is a little bit worrying.
No, they're all solid. They're all there. They're all racing nice and hard. So what is noticeable, though, is we mentioned it about a lap ago when Lynn got into the lead. Can he pull away? The answer is no. On that last lap, Delmont was 0.2 of a second quicker than Lynn, and that is why he was all over the back of him a couple of corners ago. Now there seems to be a little bit of a gap as a driver pulls off on the left-hand side. Now that is one of the Year 1 cars. I'm not entirely sure why.
That
It might
is
be
Chris Dixon.
Yeah, it's Chris Dixon, isn't it, going a lap down, unfortunately. So doing the right thing in terms of getting out of the way. Potentially a little bit extreme getting out of the way, but yeah, as long as they're not in the way.
I've seen his speed is currently 0. Oh no, he's just got moving now, so he's let several cars go through at the final corner.
Yeah,
which is nice and respectful, obviously, to keep the racing close, especially when he sees that all these drivers are racing very closely to one another. That is probably the best course of action, even if it does completely kneecap his chances of getting a result in his race, in his classes. Jennison's and Colin Sansom are now way off down the road ahead of him. Adam Delmont, though, with a nice run out of turn 4. He's going to look to go all the way around the outside in towards turn 5. Jason Cooper is there to pick up the pieces. Should he find a way to profit? I think Adam Delmont is going to have the advantage, but then the inside line, Wanji Lin.
Yeah, Jason Cooper's like a hungry Labrador puppy, isn't he? Waiting for the scraps to fall off the table at the moment. And it's not quite happening just yet. To be fair, Lynn and Delmont doing a very respectful job. Casey Eames actually commented in the chat saying that it was a very respectful driving from race 2 and 3. And late on the brakes goes Delmont, and he didn't get the first apex, but he will get the second and nudges Lynn out the way. Cooper does get a position from all his expectation. But is Delmont going to take a race victory? He's got 30 more seconds. I think this is a penultimate lap. I don't think this is going to be a checkered flag, which Delmont will be absolutely gutted when he sees the man on the start-finish line holding a white flag and not a black and white flag, checkered. 15 seconds to go. He's no way. It's a white flag that's being waved in his face, and he knows that is absolutely disastrous in a way because he's got to defend from Jason Cooper for one entire lap. Doesn't sound like a lot, trust me. One entire corner is a lot to defend from Jason Cooper. As we're seeing into the Andretti hairpin, a nice bit of contact. Not too much, not too little. Exactly what we like to see in MX5 racing, to be honest. Delmont holds on to the position. Cooper under a little bit of attack from Lynn, but I don't think that Lynn's going to really throw the kitchen sink at him because that would be a really good way to make enemies within the team early doors.
Yeah, I like what you did there. You did a bit of a Goldilocks amount of contact from Adam Delmont and Jason Cooper. Thankfully, the cars don't seem to be too damaged. In fact, there's pretty much no damage on them, so it's good, clean racing, and hopefully that up until the end. Adam Delmont under a lot of pressure. I think the next big overtaking opportunity for Jason Cooper is going to be out of turn 6 in towards the corkscrew. You can see him looking up the inside, just more actually spotting where the apex is more than anything else. Adam Delmont taking a lot of speed into the corner, running a touch wide, but he's still able to get ahead into the braking zone for the corkscrew. So now Jason Cooper realizes the last chance for him to get the move done is going to be most likely into that final corner. He's setting it up nicely. Look, he's going for a switchback maneuver. Oh my word, has he got the move to stick? Oh, there's contact. I think he tries to go for a move that isn't really on, and Wanji Lin looks to go for it, gets smacked across the face, says no. The door is slammed firmly in his face, and now Adam Delmont can breathe a sigh of relief as he comes into the final corner, exits the final corner, and sees that the checkered flag will greet him, and he will be a race winner for the first time this evening and this season.
I'll tell you what, the Excite cars have had a pretty good evening, haven't they? They've had Delmont take the victory, they've had McNally take a victory. We're all talking about 5-star, and deservedly so. If we were counting up team points, they would be leading. But Adam Delmont and Adam McNally have done the Excite cars rather proud, I would say. Jason Cooper takes home another second place. It's a good evening for him. Let's just face it, it is a good evening for him. Lynn ends up taking a podium, a very well-deserved podium, but again, not quite the killer instinct that we're coming to expect. But I would imagine we're going to see more of that and more of him on the podium throughout the coming weeks. Lars Fischer ended up in 4th place as well to round out the 5-star top 4. three of the top four rounded out by 5-star cars. There we go. It is a little bit confusing. And I believe we'll be able to bring you all the rest of the finishing order up on your screens in a couple of minutes' time. But that is the final race of the evening. So we won't have to do any of the reverse grid shenanigans. And I'll be able to tell you where we're off to next as well after Fiona Siddons has come across the line. Because ironically, it was actually Fiona Siddons who sent me the calendar a couple of hours ago. We're actually off to Suzuka International Racing Course next week. So Suzuka shall be a very entertaining race, that's for sure. Donington Park after that, Virginia International Raceway, Canadian Tire Motorsport, Mid-Ohio, Sonoma Raceway, Circuit Zandvoort, Road America, and Knock Hill will be rounding out the season. So plenty of tracks to look forward to. Right, Ed, we can have a look at the final finishing order, can't we? Take it away.
Thank you very much, Jack. And yes, Adam Delmont manages to secure race victory and deny Jason Cooper his 30th of the evening by 2.5 tenths of a second. A great fight that went right down to the wire. He had to defend an entire lap from Jason Cooper, but he had to defend pretty much an entire 10-12 minutes from Wan Ji Lin, who finishes in third place. His first podium of the season. A very good evening from him. Lars Fischer there, just missing out on another podium finish there in fourth place, ahead of James Sharp yet again, top of the Pro-Ams in fifth place, ahead of James Clark, Adam McNally, James Neve, Andy McEwen not having the race he was hoping for there, down in ninth place after a bad start. It fortunately didn't get much better for the driver that finishes just inside the top 10, ahead of Dan Skinner, second place in Pro-Am. Travis Linscombe Hatfield, third rounding out that podium. And then we come down to 12th place, top of the Am class, Colin Sansom, Fiona Siddons 13th, second in Am, Chris Dixon 14th, third, rounding out the Am podium. Then we come to Luke Cooper, who finishes one lap down, and unfortunately Wayne Douglas finishes 7 laps down, did not take the checkered flag. But Jack, that was a hopefully we have a few drivers that fancy coming in for a chat, because that was some night of racing, and what a opening round to treat us to.
Yeah, it was very exciting indeed. I do see a couple of drivers are still in the Discord. A lot of drivers logged off immediately. It is quite late, nearly 20 past 10. I'm very much hoping that particularly Adam Delmont comes in to have a very quick chat. We obviously had a word with his teammate Adam McNally earlier on. It'd be nice to get a little word with Mr. Delmont, but I'm not going to drag him in while he's having a chat to his teammates. So I'm going to wait and see if he jumps in the interview waiting room. But a good start, I would say, to the BSR MX5 trophy here on, now streamed on Jacko Racing. I'm looking forward to this season, and the tracks I just read out there, they're exciting tracks, aren't they, Ed? There's plenty of opportunities for a lot of drama through this season.
Yeah, I mean, Laguna Seca is a brilliant way to open up the season, but then coming down to Suzuka next week, it's going to be exciting. I've seen some great races around there in MX5s, and I mean, if the racing is as hard and as fair as it has been tonight, it will be a real treat. Donington Park GP, I mean, it does give a lot of opportunities for overtaking down into the 2 hairpins at the end of the lap. However, I do personally like the National a little bit more. I like the quick swing through that final chicane a little bit more, but it doesn't necessarily give as close a racing as some of the other tracks. But then Mosport as well. That's a venue I absolutely love. It's given us such great races across the seasons in BSR. Some of the best races have come from there. There's been drama at the line numerous times that I can remember. I think we've seen Dave Chapman involved in a few close scraps with Jason Cooper there in the past. So hopefully we get to see yet more exciting battles there. But I mean, yeah, the calendar is stacked with amazing rounds, amazing races.
It is indeed, yes. And I heard on the Cherry Vine, or whatever the saying is for, that Dave Chapman might be coming back from his friend Andy McEwen. So I'm looking forward to seeing if that does come to fruition. Now, I believe there is a driver that you can have a chat with, Ed, if you want, and it's Fiona Siddons in the broadcast room. So why don't you have a quick chat?
Yeah, welcome to the comments box, Fiona. It was a very intense evening's worth of racing, but you managed to come out of that second place in that final race in the AMs. But talk us through the opening lap, because it seemed to be you're in the thick of it.
Yeah, the opening laps was good. I was keeping up with them, but as soon as the tyres warm up, they find the pace and leave me.
Yeah, well, just talk us through that open lap, because it looked like there was a bit of contact with some of your teammates perhaps in there. I want to get your view on it, because it looked like just a bit of pandemonium.
In race 1, I think you're talking about, out of the last corner,
Yeah.
Colin seemed to run wide and just caught the front of my car and it spun him. That's what I saw anyway.
Yeah, that was I think what we saw as well. But then also just throughout the evening, you haven't been able to catch a break. But Suzuka seems to be a track that I think might open the circuit for a little bit more forgivingness, I think, in terms of how wide it is and how many opportunities you can get to make moves and make them cleanly.
It should be a good week next week at Suzuka. It's, as you say, it's nice and wide, and like all the Grand Prix tracks are, they're nice and wide. You can get 2 and 3 abreast.
Yeah, and of course, as one of the organisers, one of the admins for this championship, you've got to be very pleased by the level of racing we've seen this evening. There's been some absolutely amazing battles, even though the turnout hasn't been as exciting as stellar as we've hoped. The racing has been absolutely excellent. That's something that I'm sure you're going to be glad that you don't need a lengthy stewards meeting for coming up in the week.
Yeah, it's always good when you haven't got a lot to do on the stewards meeting. It's good to have some good, clean racing, some very fast newcomers to it, and some old names coming back as well. So, good mix.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good to have everyone. Another person. It's good to be back in the BSR fold. It's great that you approached me and asked if I was still around. And yeah, I've always got time for BSR, so it's great to be involved. And yeah, thank you very much, Fiona. Great to have a talk to you as well after what might not have been your best evening's worth of racing here at Laguna Seca, but still one that I think is going to serve you well come the end of the championship.
Yeah, hopefully. Aim is to win the AM Championship this year, and hopefully I can do it. But before I go, thank you to Jack for last minute jumping in to do the stream for us, and welcome back, Ed. Good to have you back, mate.
That's an absolute pleasure, Fiona. Thank you very much. It's been very fun this evening. Well done on the evening's events.
Thank you.
Good little chat there with Fiona. She's had some topsy-turvy races so far this evening, but it's still good to have a chat with her about the proceedings so far tonight, and good to get that perspective as well about the incidents that we've seen, because we can always sort of judge and maybe sort of speculate on what we saw, but again, we're never the drivers in the cockpit, so it's good to get that perspective. But I don't see any more drivers coming through, Jack, so I think that is all the time we have for tonight, but what a night it has been.
Yeah, it's been brilliant, and I want to say well done to all the drivers, and a big thank you to everyone who's tuned in and watched. And thank you to you, Ed, as well, for jumping in and helping me out on the broadcast, as hopefully you will continue to do through the rest of the season. My name's been Jack Oliphant. You've been watching the BSR MX5 Championship here on Jacko Racing. Please do like, subscribe, comment, share, or if you've just silently sat there and judged us commentators and the drivers, then we do appreciate your time and your company, of course. Please do tune in next week at the same time at 5 to 8 for more MX5 filled action for your screens. And yeah, we'll see you then.